I can't even remember why you decided to do that.
It was something that I heard on as like a transition noise on another
And
podcast.
so you were just like,
yeah. And I just thought it was funny, so I decided to emulate that.
I will say, Austin, I feel like you should re-listen to your first ones because those were a bit more punchy, and recently the doodle-doos have been kind of underwhelming. So,
oh, is he phoning it in? Is that what I'm hearing? Is he phoning in the doodle-doo?
Okay.
Wow, he's gotten too complacent.
just one note, just only note.
All right. Okay. All right.
Welcome back to another episode of the Games Gone By podcast. It is Saturday, July 19th at the time of this recording. I'm your host, Adam, and joining me as always, the gaming expert and enthusiast, Austin. And back with us again, the Ranger of Dunedain. No, Jeff is here with us again. I was going to think about listing off all of Aragorn's titles, but we might be here for 25 minutes. So,
But to say that's the whole movie's worth of.
But are you boys ready to talk about the amazing hack and slash action games from Electronic Arts in the early 2000s? The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Return of the King.
I feel like amazing might be stretching a little bit, but they were fun.
You take that back. It was a great time. For the listener, y'all have finished the games a while ago, right? Adam's even been watching the movies. I'm over here just having binged Lord of the Rings for the last 72 hours.
Jeff has become fully immersed in Middle Earth in a way that no one ever has before.
I am so ready. Yeah. I will simply walk into Mordor.
There is so much in Middle Earth. So one of the things I was noticing, since these are movie tie-ins, we did bother to watch some of the movies. And Jeff, you had said you had just watched them somewhat recently. Mm-hmm. I went ahead and just binged all three of the the extended cuts, which was a journey, but they're actually really good. But what I did not realize is that as a kid, just every time someone wasn't dying on screen, how little I was absorbing about the story and the world and everything happening. There's so much there. And I've spent so much time just reading Wikipedia and Googling questions like, wait, how is Aragorn part of the bloodline? Why is he 90 years old? There's all these things that made no sense to me at the time. But man, what a rich world and universe this guy wrote about.
It's certainly expansive. It's funny to hear you talk about. So I did rewatch one movie. I rewatched The Two Towers because I thought that was the one I had seen the least of, right? It's funny to hear you talk about how rich and deep, I guess, the plot is. The universe is certainly very fleshed out, right? This might be the OG most fleshed out fictional universe that I can think of, at least in the English language. But I was watching the movies and I was like, oh, this plot is pretty straightforward. Okay, that dude's name is Wormtongue. He's corrupting the king. Okay, I don't have to do a lot of thinking here.
I was really impressed going back to Fellowship and just immediately being immersed in the world in a way that I was not expecting to. As soon as you get into the Shire, you just feel immediately I belong here. I am hanging out with these hobbits myself. It's just such an expansive world, but it draws you into it so quickly to where you feel like you're part of it and just hanging out with everybody. It was so impressive to me.
Yeah, wait. So, Austin, how familiar were you with the universe before we went and played these movie adaptations?
Actually, my exposure to Lord of the Rings was this Return of the King game. I'm pretty sure that's the very first time I ever experienced any Lord of the Rings anything. I had probably seen some stuff on TV, my dad had watched the movies on TV or whatever, and I saw them while he was watching them, but I never sat down and watched them all the way through until I was in college, a freshman in college. And I played these probably around the time they came out, 2004 or so is probably when I played them. So this was my first exposure, but I have seen all the movies before. And this was my second time watching them for the podcast.
It's so funny. I've never played these games before. I had read the books a lot and seen the movies. I'd never played these games before. But that character select screen is so familiar to me because both the movies and this game has been memed across the internet. And pulling it up, I was like, oh, it's this Lord of the Rings game. Okay.
That's where that character select screen is from.
Adam, was your first entry the games or how did you learn about it?
So my actual very first exposure to this universe was the 1977 animated Hobbit film. Which wild. Is fantastic, by the way. It's 90 minutes, and we used to rent it from the local library. So I had seen that a bunch with, Gloin and Boyne and Glorkin and Morkin and all those like goofy dwarf names that are all, they're all like, they all rhyme for whatever reason. That's a really fun movie though, because it's like very children-y and it's got all of the poems and songs from the book. Like they have real musicians and singers like singing all of those for it. So it's a lot of fun. But I did not read these books before seeing the movies in the 2000s. So seeing them I think I saw The Fellowship in theaters. I can't remember. But seeing all of these and just thinking the battles were so freaking cool and then playing the games, I think, even though we're going to talk about how the games, strangely enough, came out like 2 months before the movies, I don't think I played them until after the movies were out because that's what really made me like want to go play the game. So did you guys read?
I did read.
I was going to ask, yeah.
I read The Hobbit in 9th grade. Never read any of the books. I tried reading Fellowship like twice, and both times this isn't for me.
I took the accelerated reader test for Fellowship hoping that the movie was enough. And no, I think they designed it specifically to only include Tom Bombadil and, things that
I was about to say, you were like, who's Tom Bombadil?
That's so funny. I would not have guessed that amongst the three of us, I am the Lord of the Rings nerd in this group. I read the books multiple times in grade school. Probably mostly for the reading school credit at first, but I've read them at least all the way through twice. I sent you guys that photo of me over preparing for this show because I literally have a recent copy of the books that I have not read, but they're still on my shelf. And I've seen the movies more times than I can count. Probably the only franchise I've seen more is Star Wars. Which
I did read The Fellowship. And I do, one thing I remember about it was getting to the Balin's tomb scene and being like, ooh, this was so cool in the movie. It's a paragraph in the book. And it's basically just like, Legolas shot one in the head. Aragorn cleaved one in twain. They fled the tomb. And I was like, come on.
like, what do you mean? Where's the cave troll?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which of these I saw in theaters. I know I saw Return of the King in theaters, but I might have been too young to go see The Fellowship and the Two Towers. Yeah, to your point about the tomb, Adam, like that is such an intense and dramatic scene. And in my head, that's just like the quintessential Dungeons and Dragons encounter. Every time I play a D&D campaign, I just want to go do, Balin's Tomb or whatever. That's what I want. That's the experience I'm looking for. But yeah, I can't remember a time before the like movie depiction of that scene in my head. And it is always kind of sad to realize which things Jackson emphasized that weren't as big of a deal in the book, because those books are still pretty long. So
yeah, I mean, even the extended editions can't cover everything.
I can't believe you watch the extended editions. That's wild.
It's crazy to hear you talk about the extended cuts too, because there were scenes that you were describing in your notes that I was like, don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like that's not anywhere in the theatrical cut. You specifically mentioned, I think, like Eowyn and Aragorn's conversations, and I'm like, they talk one time in the theatrical
Right.
cut, and it's like 3 sentences that they exchange.
The most egregious one is the fact that the extended edition of Return of the King opens with Saruman's death, and it's this whole dramatic scene, and like Wormtongue's trying to redeem himself, and like Theoden's like, come back to me, Wormtongue, like we can work this out. And that is literally just not in the theatrical release. Saruman dies off screen. And it's just crazy. And I think that is a large part of why as a kid I was like, what are the two towers? What's the difference between Gandalf and Saruman? Who is this guy? He doesn't even fucking matter by the end. But that is like so much more obvious in the extended cut for sure.
It is a really weird thing to cut, but that movie is so dense already that it's like you gotta cut something.
They could have cut one of the
I
5
guess.
endings is what they could have done.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
valid.
I was going to bring that up next. So, Adam, I know the theatrical release of Return of the King has 5, 6, maybe 7 endings. Do they get up to double digits with the extended edition? Is there a full dozen?
I actually think that's really one of the things they leave mostly intact. I mean, because you have like the so when they like destroy the ring and they're like left on the side of the mountain, and then like the eagles come get them later, and then there's like they're watching them go off on the boat at the end, and then there's like Samwise in the village. All of that's still in theatrical, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I think everything they cut was from the middle and beginning of the
Right. Just like Saruman's death. Who
right.
cares
No
about
no
that?
big deal.
Yeah, just real quick. When is Sauron defeated in the theatrical movie? Like what? Like when does Gollum? Spoilers, people. When does Gollum fall into Mount Doom with the ring? Like what minute mark in the movie? Do you know?
I don't.
I think I can't.
I would have.
I
It'd have been like 3 hours and 5 minutes or so.
really,
3 hours.
really. In my head, it's at the
30-minute
2-hour
runtime.
mark, and then it's another 90 minutes of film after.
No.
In the extended cut, it feels like that. There's still so much story after he falls in.
I think there's about 25 minutes or so of endings when I watched it.
We'll come back to that.
I guess it's worth noting for our viewers, particularly our listeners, our younger ones, licensed video games with movie tie-ins used to be such a thing. I mean, if you go back to all of the big blockbuster movies at the time, I remember, what was it? Chronicles of Riddick had some ones that people really liked. You had I'm trying to think, like Mission Impossible. It's all these things coming out back then were always like, we're going to put out a game too, right? Because we can get some studio to make it in 12 months. This is why GoldenEye was the thing, right? Turns out, though, that's just not a thing anymore for a lot of reasons. And one of them being, like, you would have to know the game you want to make like 4.5 years before the movie came out.
Yeah.
And it's also no longer a thing where it's like, this is a cheap thing we can do that hopefully makes a lot of money because of the movie. This is now like the fucking games are going to cost as much, if not more, than a movie. So it was really nostalgic to go back to the like movie tie-in era with these games, which are now, old enough to legally drink in America.
That's so funny. I hadn't even considered that. I guess this isn't a genre of video game that exists anymore. Is that true, Austin?
I would say so. That this was really big for kids games back in the day too. Like I know I played a Madagascar game that I really liked on PS2.
Oh, that's
as a child.
If you Google like best movie tie-in games, it's like Lord of the Rings and Madagascar for some reason.
That Madagascar game is crazy. I think like the last one of these was probably that X-Men Origins Wolverine game that came out on the 360 PS3 era. If you got the 360 version, you had the unrated cut where it was all bloody and violent. And then if you had the PS2 version, it was just like really boring. I had the PS2 version, of course. So I was like, why is everybody hyping this game up?
You'd have like
And
these
I found out
elaborate death animations, but you're just like, where's the blood? Like there should be gore and stuff. And instead it's just like arms falling off with nothing behind it. Yeah.
It was a really weird game. But I think licensed games have really turned into, let's take a property and we'll create a whole new story and like a new world around it. Like the Batman Arkham games, or even Lord of the Rings' own Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. Like they've done this thing where they still take licenses. The Avengers had that co-op action game that failed pretty quickly, but there's a lot of like attempts at making tie-in games, but they're now tied in with a property, not a specific movie or book or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the closest thing today is like any Marvel game that has come out recently. That's kind of is that a movie tie-in? Well, not really.
But I was about to say, I think that's just it. Like they had the Guardians of the Galaxy game, but it doesn't tie into the movie at all. It's a completely different storyline,
different
using the
cast,
same characters,
or different
different
actors cast. I mean, yeah.
Right, same characters, but completely different story that they're telling. So they're not beholden to the movies and the plots of those movies. I mean, these games literally take shots from the movie and just put it in the game. Like that doesn't happen anymore. You don't see stuff like that.
Which is something I so loved about these.
It's so good. It's not as prominent in Two Towers, I feel like, but in Return of the King, like right at the beginning when they're in the Cave of the Dead or whatever, and it just recreates the shot from the movie, or like right after the last shot from the movie they show. They literally go from like just a clip of the movie to it fades into like Gimli's face, and now you're there, and it's just like, whoa, like. And yeah, the graphics obviously don't look amazing now, but the actual transition is still, I think, just really, really well done.
I was really impressed by the transitions.
I feel like someone spent a lot of time on those transitions, because maybe it's just my distracted brain, but there were multiple occasions where it would be like video game graphics, and I guess I would glance away and suddenly I'm watching a movie scene again, and I'm like, my brain didn't process the transition. It was just so natural, and we're talking about like 2003 graphic technology here. Since I happened to play the Two Towers first, so the games in order, like your first experience getting into these two titles is literally watching the opening to the Lord of the Rings movie, and then suddenly you're in the fight against Sauron from forever ago when he loses the ring. And that caught me completely off guard. I think I was literally like typing in Discord and I was like, wait, what? I'm dying.
I think part of why I find these so compelling is because, like, I don't know if you guys played many of the movie tie-in games from like the previous console generations to this, but they're all shitty 2D platformers, and there were so many of them. Becca and I are always watching these things on YouTube that are like, guess the game in 10 seconds from whatever console. And the Super Nintendo and Game Boy in that era, it is like 90% like these crappy platformers. Now there were some good ones, like I don't know if you've played any of the like Aladdin, Lion King, like the Disney platformers. Those were actually really good.
The Disney platform and really hard. Those are like super difficult.
but for every one of those, there's like a Judge Dredd and a Terminator and a this that are just awful. And that was the thing, is it used to be like, you have a movie, let's get 4 guys to make a 2D platformer in 6 months, and that'll come out with the movie. So I think like this was really the era where like movie tie-ins became something possibly worth paying attention to.
Yeah, that's so funny. Is it just that like with the 3D era, we got technologically good enough to do something like this? Because picking up these games, I was so surprised at just like how good of a movie adaptation they are. And like, because this was a genre that I wrote off at the time, right? Like who's buying a bunch of movie tie-in games? There are, even back then, so many other things to play or do. But these I actually like regretted missing out on. They were so much fun. So like, I don't know, Austin, do you have any theories as to why like this genre is shit otherwise?
I mean, I think it's right. It's just easy. It's easy money, because you say like, who's buying these? A bunch of people were buying these, I think. I mean, I bought a couple of them. Like I said, the Madagascar game. Like, I didn't even like that movie that much, but the game was there, so why not? And then, you know, for every good one, like Adam said, there's a million awful ones. I mean, E.T. literally is like one of the most famous examples.
I was just thinking,
a movie tie-in game that completely destroyed the industry.
Wait, is that the one where there's like a bunch of copies of it buried out in the Nevada desert or something?
Yep.
Correct.
Which is like referenced in so many games. Like I think it's Wasteland 2, which is like a post-apocalyptic setting in that part of the country. You can explore a part of the map where you find like 100,000 cassettes like buried underground.
That's so funny. Yeah. They've recently unearthed those and like pulled them out of the ground, and we're like, we found the ET copies.
So people will pay money for them now. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure.
That's so funny. So in 1,000 years, the ET game will be one of the most likely artifacts still left on Earth. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's interesting because there was definitely a lot of Lord of the Rings games that came out before this, but it seems like, you know, I was doing some research. The vast majority of them were like text adventure games from the 80s and early 90s, right? So you had dozens of those. And then you had a couple of crappy, like sort of war strategy games. Maybe they weren't bad, but it was just like the 80s, and all the screenshots I was looking at them was like, yeah, that's the like nightmare interface where they want you to manage a whole army across a fictional continent. And then I think really one of the more prominent ones is that in the SNES era, there was like an adventure RPG that did okay. It's like a volume 1. Then they put out a volume 2 and it didn't do as well. And we just never saw volume 3. So if you were experiencing Lord of the Rings through these games, you never saw the Return of the King. He did not come back.
Aragorn stayed away.
There was so, you know, the 2 games we're talking about today are specifically the Two Towers and Return of the King. And EA had the rights to Peter Jackson's movies. They did not have video game rights to the books. So the only things they were allowed to cover were events from the movies, which is part of why I think they got all of this access before the movies came out. And they actually launched the games a couple months before the movies, is because there was no other way to do it. They couldn't wait until the movies were released because they were supposed to be tie-ins to the movies, and they couldn't cover shit from the books. So they had to actually know what was going on in the movies. Interplay actually had, Vivendi had the rights to the book. So they had released a Fellowship of the Ring game really just a few months before the Two Towers game came out. And it was like a much more generic kind of action adventure game. I actually played it on the original Xbox for a little bit. It was fine. You got to play Gandalf and Aragorn and Frodo, and all of it sucked. It was trying to be really faithful to the books, which meant there was just a lot of like scenes that they were trying to turn. Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's try to make this scene where not that much actually really happened that would make for a good video game segment into a video game segment. And the only way to do that is for it to be boring as hell or them to just make shit up. And like in either way, it wasn't great. So I wouldn't say that there was a strong legacy of good Lord of the Rings games before the ones we're talking about today. I'm sure someone out there would say, no, I loved the 87 Amiga text RPG, and good for them. But I think really like critically acclaimed and like well selling. These are really the first two that hit that mark.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It would just be so hard to adapt these stories because it's about the journey, right? And I don't know how to make a hiking video game. I think 80% of the story here is then they hiked across the country again.
Fellowship would be the most difficult to adapt, I think, because it definitely has the least amount of action. And I think Two Towers actually does a really good job of taking all of the like 4 action sequences in Fellowship and just being like, here, play those.
I absolutely loved that. It was so much fun to start out back in the
You get all the best parts. Yeah. You get all the best parts of Fellowship as far as the action goes, right? I think Fellowship is a movie that I was surprised by how much I enjoyed. Because I've always thought of it as like the weakest of the bunch because I felt like not a lot happened. But wow, was I wrong. Like so much happens in that movie. Even though a lot of it is just walking and talking, it makes for a really engaging experience, but maybe not an engaging video game.
Yeah.
I did feel so much more like an adult watching it this time because I kept noticing like, oh, there's actually so much going on that's not just people killing each other. Mm-hmm. And if you have like the attention span and the worldly knowledge to understand that, it's like, yeah, it's just really compelling, especially because I don't watch a lot of movies, frankly. It's like I'd much rather play video games. I'd much rather read. I'd much rather, like when Becca and I are on the couch, it's always watching a TV show typically. Mm-hmm. So I don't watch that many movies. And I really thought that I was going to struggle with these, especially the extended cuts. Oh, dude, I think I watched The Fellowship in one sitting. I didn't even get up to pee. I was just like in it. Yeah, they're so good. And obviously we'll get into that. But like, good God, are these movies just fantastic.
Again, I think it helps that the plot is usually relatively straightforward. I mean, there are twists and surprises in it. I think I don't know, in my head, the most twisty moment is how they get into the minds of Moria. Actually, so I didn't watch The Fellowship of the Ring. Adam, do you remember that scene? Like I don't know if it's in the book or if it's in the movie that like Gandalf realizes that you have to speak the word friend in Elvish, and that's how you get in the door.
I think it's in the movie, yeah.
Okay.
It's funny too because Gimli is like, "Oh, Balin, that's my cousin. He rules Moria. This like he'll welcome us." He somehow doesn't know it's gone. Like it's just been completely murdered. Every inhabitant is either dead or has fled.
I was saying he's so devastated when he comes across like the corpse of everybody, and it's like, how did you not know this had happened?
Was it like a really recent happening? Is it just better explained in the book? I'm not sure, but he's basically like, no, this is gonna be awesome. My cousin rules Moria. It's gonna be great. And then literally everyone's
I love
dead.
Moria.
Yeah,
and it doesn't just look like everyone's dead. It looks like everyone's been dead a while.
Yep.
I mean, there's skeletons, right? Like there's cobwebs. There's orcs have taken over. It wasn't like, yeah, it's strange. But then yes, Gandalf is basically like he reads the Elvish stuff, and then I think like Aragorn and Legolas say something about it because like. Poor Gimli, everyone knows Elvish, and then there's Gimli.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
He probably had the opportunity to learn at some point. He was just like, I ain't learning, no. They need to speak Dwarven. You know?
No, that's just a great example of how expansive the world is, right? And that still comes across in the movies. You don't have to read the 300-page books to realize just how many sort of, I don't want to say rabbit trails, but how many aspects there are to Middle Earth, right? And that's part of why it's fun. It is, I honestly think the movies, you're either having an intense moment or you're getting an epic sense of scale. It's either wide shots of hiking through the mountains or Frodo frantically trying not to get eaten by a troll or an orc.
I think part of why it's so good is just their shooting on location.
Mhm.
Like wherever they picked in New Zealand to shoot is
Oh
just
yeah.
phenomenal. Like every wide shot you get is like I want to go there. I want to be there right now because that looks so peaceful and so serene. Or like, oh, that looks absolutely devastating and terrifying, and I would not want to be in those icy mountains right now.
Yeah.
Like no matter where they're filming, it just looks so good.
That's
When you read about the cast, it's like some of the ones who were paid a little more all ended up with like property in New Zealand afterwards. They were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come back here," and then I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
like Bag End is still just set up as it was as like a tourist attraction.
yes.
So yeah, some of the stuff is like I know like some New Zealanders have complained like I hate the fact that Americans just overrun our town now because they want to see like the Lord of the Rings set in the corner. But like I think it is cool that some of that stuff has just remained so popular and so iconic that the towns themselves have been like, no, this is like our tourist hub now. Like, yeah, this is like a whole
Right.
economic boon for our town now. Like we want people to come see Bag End and whatever else. And like that really goes to show, I just think how iconic these movies were at like telling the story and making people feel, in that universe.
Look, I'm just saying, for a country where there's a whole subreddit dedicated to maps that forgot to put the country on the map, New Zealand needs to be very thankful to Peter Jackson.
Yeah. This put them on the map in more ways than one. So getting into the movies and games now, obviously, like since we're covering two games that are both like 5-hour hack and slashes, we're definitely going to be talking about the movies a lot too, or else this episode would already be over. But we'll start with the Fellowship of the Ring. As I said earlier, I was like blown away with just how into this movie I was and how good everything is. Did you guys find that, you were like, hey, this is as good as I remember it. It's better than I remember it. I don't remember it. Like, kind of, what were you feeling as you were watching it?
Oh, for me, it was definitely better. Just from the very beginning, as soon as they set the tone with the lore of the rings and Isildur fighting Sauron, and then you're immediately thrown into the Shire, and it's just quiet and peaceful, and Gandalf's coming through on his little carriage. It just felt so wholesome and immediately welcoming. And I was like, I'm here, I'm in, I'm ready to explore Middle Earth with Frodo and Gandalf, and we're just going to go on a fun adventure. And it's so immediately effective at making you feel like you're on that adventure with them.
I guess this is the part where I will plug the score of the movie for the first time. I think if you just played the Shire theme like while I was out and about in the world, I would immediately relax. Like that has to be some form of audio therapy somewhere, is just playing selected tracks from the Lord of the Rings film. The score is amazing across all three films.
It is. And Austin, to your point, I was Googling things like, I really am always curious about hot takes on these things. So I'm like Lord of the Rings hot takes. And something that kept cropping up a lot was, it's like 48 minutes before Frodo leaves the Shire. Nothing happens.
Like,
but that's
perfect.
like such a, I don't know, unsophisticated view of the first hour of this movie because so much is happening. And it's covering some of that time in between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings where Gandalf is discovering like, oh my God, that stupid little trinket that Frodo had when I was Bilbo had when I was adventuring with him, that is the One Ring. Like, oh my God, right? So there's all these little things that are really setting up the story. And you mentioned the opening, which really does feel like a great like video game cinematic opening. And I think that is a take that people had because they saw the movies in middle school and then never watched them again because and like you said, Jeff, all the music playing in the Shire, what a great opening hour. Like, I'm sorry, if you don't like the first hour of this movie, you don't like the rest of the movie. You might think you do, but like this is one of the best parts. Like
the way it sets the scene is just so impressive, and everyone, the party, like they're just having this big party for Bilbo, and you're like, I want to be at this party. You feel like you are invited to the party, and you actually do feel like you're in the party. You see, Merry and Pippin playing with the fireworks and causing explosions, and it's like it just feels so alive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It really does set the scene, as you said. It builds the backstory for the characters because, like, the idea here is this is the start of a story, so you have to like establish everything for people. And the Fellowship of the Ring does that really well. Now, none of that is in the Two Tower games we played, right? That is nothing.
Right, yeah.
But
there's no Shire scene, and
nope, not even a little bit.
which is fine.
Yeah.
It's just it's so funny. So to be clear, listener, the Two Towers EA game takes the action sequences from the Fellowship of the Ring, and which means that you start the game off in the ancient war against Sauron, and the very next scene is you are Strider, aka Aragorn, fighting off the Nazgul to protect Frodo.
Oh yeah,
and there is
on
no in between. And it was so funny. I don't know if this is a prop or a pro to it being a good movie tie-in, but I had no idea how to fight this battle. I was sitting there struggling, being like, oh God, these are really difficult enemies. How do we do this? Wait, wasn't there some trick to killing the Nazgul? Then I was like, oh, right. Fire. And that's how I figured out I was supposed to hit the janky ass fire in the corner in order to win this fight. No hint by the game, though. Does the game do anything to tell you that? Nope.
It's like, you've probably seen this already because this game came out before Two Towers, but after Fellowship of the Ring movie. So it's like, hopefully you remember what happened in this scene.
Right.
You're going to have to draw on that knowledge.
And if you didn't, maybe you should go watch the movie first.
Yeah. Another movie that came out around this time, movie series that also gets always like lumped together in fandom is obviously Star Wars, right? The Star Wars prequels were coming out around the same time. I think Phantom Menace was 99. So it's kind of like a little before this. But like, if you wanted to go visit the set of the Phantom Menace, there's nothing to visit, right? Because it was just all fucking green screens. And like, I will say, by the time we get to Return of the King, there's a little bit more CGI going on. And by the time we get to the Hobbit movies, no one cares about those because it was so Star Wars prequel-y in that regard. But man, one of the things you notice is that in the first movie, there are so many practical effects. And there's going to be like these flyover scenes. And even in like Two Towers and Return of the Kings, when they're zooming out and you're seeing like millions of orcs and stuff, obviously that's CGI. But when you're seeing like 200 riders of Rohan or whatever, dude, that's 200 guys on 200 horses. Like that, that was real. And you can feel it in this movie, especially the costumes and the character designs. Every orc looks so gross in a great way. And not in like they pasted the same orc face over 50 extras, but like every single one of them has the makeup on and the costumes. And it all feels so distinct. And like that is just immediately noticeable in these films.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, Adam, I'm so happy that you were the first one to bring up Star Wars. So now that line is in cross, we can come back to that throughout this series.
Instead of Jeff making it a Star Wars podcast, today it's Adam
let's just be clear. I have enthusiastic consent now. But I'm actually not gonna talk about Star Wars here. The practical effects are just very good. So, listener, in case you've never owned a DVD, DVDs used to come with extras, right? Behind the scenes, making of, stuff like that. And one of the great DVD extras from the Fellowship of the Ring is they demonstrate how they make Elijah Wood, who is small but is not actually Hobbit size, look like authentically like a Hobbit the whole time while shooting this film. One of the things that what's Gandalf's actor's name? Ian McKellen? Is it?
Ian
yes.
McKellen.
Sir Ian McKellen. One of the things he talked about,
of course,
it being such a struggle with this movie is that they were on these live sets where he was just physically much farther away from the camera. When in the shot, he's talking like across a table to Frodo or in the wagon with him. The way they did it was through forced perspective optical illusions. Yeah. And it's just so freaking cool. So go dig up those DVD extras somewhere. They're really good. And the last thing I'll say is that did you guys look at any of the quote DVD extras that these video games had in them?
Oh, we actually watched, we were like really dedicated to watching all of them through the first few levels. But then as the levels began to get more frustrated, we were like, all right, I can't deal with these extras right now. But we definitely watched a few.
We watched a couple of them, and it's really cool that they had that level of access to the actors and were able to, all these games have the cast of the movies doing their voices and everything. Like, a lot of the quotes are ripped straight from the movie, so like,
but the actual scene, right?
Yeah. Right. But it is really cool that they were able to get so much access to these.
The whole, you mentioned the cast. The casting for these movies is perfect. Like, I feel like if you had gotten every actor on the fucking planet to audition for these, you'd have ended up with the same characters. I mean, they're all so well cast. And then, obviously, like, all the things around them, too, as we've discussed, the music and costumes and everything, do such a good job of, like, making them into that character. I know originally Aragorn was this other guy, this other British actor, and they quite literally fired him like 2 days before filming started. He had been out there training for months because Peter Jackson was like, I just don't think this young, like boyish looking character is who we need Aragorn to be. And then apparently Viggo Mortensen was kind of like iffy about it when he was called, but his son was a huge Lord of the Rings fan. He was like, Dad, really? Like, you're not going to be Aragorn and Lord of the Rings? Like, are you crazy?
Right.
So he decides to take the role. And now, it's one of those things where, like, can you imagine? Can you imagine anyone else ever being this character?
No,
Here we go. So,
no, not at all.
So time for some hot takes, right? So is the star of this story Frodo, or is it more Aragorn?
It's Aragorn, obviously. Like,
It's Aragorn,
I think watching this again, especially as an adult, is like, it's Aragorn, clearly. He's the main character. Frodo is the delivery boy. But, like,
Yeah.
I mean, Frodo, I mean, obviously there are main characters. And, in the extended cuts, God, they do way more with Boromir and Faramir than they do in the theatrical. But I think it's very clear that Aragorn is like, it's the return of the king.
Yeah.
He's the most important.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the punchline.
It's definitely... It's definitely an ensemble cast, but this is Aragorn's story, or at least that's the most interesting part of the story, is Aragorn's story.
Yeah, if you want to overanalyze it a bit, and in my head, it's like across the 3 films, it's actually like transitioning you into realizing this story is about Aragorn and the fate of men in Middle Earth, and Frodo's little side tale was just like how you got brought into the story as we go from the Fellowship, which is largely based around Frodo, right? Like the Fellowship was to escort him. The Two Towers, which sets up the bad guys, and then Return of the King this is Aragorn's anointment, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. It is interesting that the Fellowship of the Ring falls apart by the end of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is an interesting choice to have the end of the first movie be the collapse of the thing that we thought was going to take us all the way through to Mount Doom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And like by the end of that first movie, it's like, oh, that's no longer the thing. Like now we're telling a different story, which to your point kind of transitions you into Aragorn being more of the focus.
That is so you raise an interesting point here, Austin. I don't think any of us will know this, so listener, go pick up some Lord of the Ring books and figure it out. When I was flipping through them the other day, I realized that the books, so there's 3 books, right? That's the things adapted into the movies. But there are sections that are labeled book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5. There's actually 6 quote unquote books in the novels. And I'm not sure. What I'm trying to ask is, did Peter Jackson make an interesting editorial choice about where to end the movies? Do they line up with the books? I'm not sure that they do.
I also do not know.
He definitely takes some creative liberties I think work really well throughout, and not just about where he decides to end it. But I know in Lord of the Rings, one of my favorite scenes is the Nazgul are chasing the party, and they get to Rivendell. Is that the first one, or Lothlorien? They get whatever's the first elf city. I think it's Rivendell.
Rivendell's the first one.
Well, they cross that bridge, and Arwen comes out and turns the river into like the horses, and it like crashes against the Nazgul. Well, in the books, I'm pretty sure that's Elrond in the books.
They did, yeah. That is definitely a change, because that's something people talk about on the forums or whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
And I think, and there's another conversation between the two of them, Aragorn and Arwen, that's like him and Elrond in the books. And I think he just does a good job of like, we kind of joke in the document, like these films do not pass the Bechdel test because there's only like 2 females and they never interact and they only talk about men. But I think he did the best he could making Arwen like a little more than just the immortal love interest of Aragorn. He tried it. And then Éowyn, it always has like a larger role than I think Arwen did, as far as like being the person who kills the Witch King and everything. But yeah, he took some really, I think, on point creative liberties with just, I still want these things to happen because they're important and they're iconic, but like, let's just kind of switch when they happen. Let's switch who does them. And it doesn't and it doesn't like feel cheap or anything. It isn't, Arya killing the Night King levels of like, we all know that wasn't supposed to happen. So yeah, I think he does a great job with that. I say he, I'm sure it's the writers and stuff too. The people who constructed these movies.
Mm-hmm. Now that's an interesting point. I think Peter Jackson probably did do a good job of trying to adapt some modern themes into his adaptations of what is now almost 100-year-old story. It's funny. The more we sit here and talk about mostly the Lord of the Rings movies, the more thoughts I have that this sounds a lot like the conversation I had about the Odyssey recently. So I'm excited for you later, Austin.
I'm excited to see it.
So to get back to the games, because ultimately this is games gone by. The levels from Fellowship are basically, okay, as you mentioned, the Isildur battle at the beginning. Then you go to Weathertop. Then you go to Balin's Tomb.
Yeah. So talk about that Rivendell scene not being in it at all. But that's right.
Yeah. They could have done some sort of chase sequence set piece. It's very possible they could have done that, but they did not.
Good choice.
The one where Boromir dies, is that from Fellowship?
Yes.
That scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's the
Boromir
last.
is like last there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you basically have
because
4.
then it transitions into what's the first? Is it the like swamp like Fanghorn the first?
Yes, it's that's right. It's that Fanghorn forest. So that's the first sequence from.
Is that the first like Two Towers?
Yes.
Sequence.
That is the first Two Towers sequence, which is very funny because like if you watch the Two Towers movie, there's so many memes.
It's like the middle of the movie.
There's also so little happening with the 3 main characters. So in the Two Towers, you only get to play as Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn, and they don't really do much fighting in Fanghorn Forest in the movie, right?
Not at all.
That is
Not
definitely
at all, actually.
Zero.
They fight 0.
this was EA being like, okay, at some point, I guess we really need them to do stuff in the Two Towers movie. So we're just going to pretend they fought a bunch of orcs here or whatever.
Which I thought was a good choice. I think that was the first part of the game that frustrated me. Oh, here, Austin, you'll like this. So, listener, I was, we all played these on PS2 emulators, on our PCs. And of course,
I own the real thing somewhere, just so everyone knows. I paid money for it at some point.
I was about to say, I still have this game on my shelf, and I have a PS2, so I could have theoretically played Return of the King on my PS2.
No, in fact, we dumped Austin's BIOS. We did this to him.
Right.
That's what we did.
Precisely.
100%. So we all played these on emulators, which means I was playing this on a keyboard for the first 4 levels.
Just an absolutely unhinged thing to say.
You'll be happy to know, Austin, this is the first time that a game defeated my keyboard input, right? Like I got to Fangorn Forest. I got to that fucker who drops down on you in like that hollow tree or whatever. Oh, you know what? No,
dude.
I made it past him.
Dude.
It was around the corner and I encountered the second like ogre of the series, right? And I was like, you know what? No, I'm done. Where's my fucking controller? I literally dusted off my controller and plugged it in and was like, all right, here we go.
And it's still awful. The mechanics in Two Towers, I'm sorry, the mechanics in that game are awful. It feels so bad to play that game.
It's worth noting that Austin and I played co-op Return of the King all the way through, and then we went back and individually played Two Towers, which does not have a co-op mode. This was definitely not the way to do it because there's just enough refinement in Return of the King to where it felt like a real regression in what you had done. I will say this though, the scene you're talking about, Jeff, that guy in the tunnel, if I had played Two Towers first, I'm sure I would have been stuck on that guy for a while because he's like really tough. But having just got through Return of the King, you just do the thing where you like parry, knock him down, and then stab him, and he's dead in a second, right? So I was like, I knew what to do. Whereas God, if I hadn't gotten through all of Return of the King, because man, the first few levels of Return of the King, we struggled.
Yeah. So to get into game design a little bit, that particular enemy we're talking about, I knew looking at him, I was like, oh, he doesn't have armor. He doesn't have a shield. He's just got like this big ass hammer halberd thing or whatever that he swings and combos you to death with. And it's like, he's obviously a glass cannon, but this was just too early for me to have any fucking idea of how to deal with that. I was like, oh no, I parried and he's still coming at me. And I parried again and that didn't do anything. Can I kick him? Oh, he just knocked me down. Oh God, I'm going to die. But
it's okay. Press start, see a loading screen, look at combos, see a loading screen, then switch over to the one that tells you, and you don't have it unlocked, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you guys are so right, though, that playing the Two Towers to Return of the King is the better experience. I was
Oh, I'm sure.
surprised at how approachable the Two Towers was. And then when I started up Return of the King, I was like, this is fantastic. I'm so sorry you had to go the other way.
Yeah, it is not the ideal experience. I found a lot of times, and I know this is like partially on me, get good, yada yada, but I found that a lot of times just like the light attack, heavy attack combo in Two Towers did most of what I needed it to do for most encounters. Until it didn't. And then I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
The Two Towers one was harder too, because in Return to the King, there's just like a 2-button combo that's like parry and then R trigger, which is like the stab. And you will insta-kill with everything. There's a whole extra button involved in Two Towers that turns out to make the whole thing that much harder to pull off. Like the difference between 2 and 3 buttons on these insta-kill things is actually like enormous.
I don't think I pulled off.
The timing is just really tough.
I don't think I pulled off the assassinate move once in Two Towers. And then I got to Return of the King and I was like, this is so fucking cool.
I think I literally pulled it off once because I was like, I'm not going to let this game defeat me. But then also after doing it, I was like, I'm never going to do that again either. So.
It was not worth it. No. Well, and then like Two Towers takes you through. What are the other levels in Two Towers after Fanghorn Forest? Because that one was awful. And then I feel like the next couple were fine.
So there's like the
and
plains.
then Helm's Deep is just miserable.
So this is another one where there's like the village that gets attacked in the movies and all the people flee. And there's like the mother that gets reunited with her kids later at Helm's Deep. None of our characters are there in the movie, but they are in the game. So,
but in the game, it's like, hey, we need more combat encounters.
Yeah. So you go through and fight all of these Uruk-hai in the village that are burning it down. And then you fight like the warg captain at the inn. That's one of those missions. That one was really tough at first because I couldn't figure out like in Two Towers, it's interesting. At the end of every level, there's like a real boss fight with like a gimmick. You know, in Balin's Tomb, you have to like do the perspective shift around the corner and hide behind the pillars from the troll.
Which is really, really hard on keyboard. Keep going.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't even know why you would have tried.
and then in the Fanghorn Forest, there's that orc that kills Boromir, and you have to make him attack the statues to get like his sword stuck. So there's like a lot more like, there's real more mechanic driven things. Whereas I feel like in Return to the King, they had some mechanics as far as like, you know, you have to hide under this from the Nazgul and you have to go save Merry and Pippin or whatever. But for the most part, it's just you're attacking a bunch of enemies.
Yeah, it was a lot more pure hack and slash. I feel like in Return of the King, like maybe even some of the bits were kind of optional. There's that one level of Sam where you could just go about and murder a bunch of orcs if you had the wherewithal to do that. Yeah. But you're right. The Two Towers feels a bit more like classic, like level design in that there is a level with kind of a bit that you have to do that you get through and then you fight a boss. To your point about that village level, I fucking hated it because those dudes dropped like flies. And again, this is where I had to abuse the save state. So, oh God, the number. That was probably the first time where I was like, all right, so we're going to have a main save file and a backup save file for one of them. It got bad.
It really, that level really is like a race.
It is.
Because you just have to go as fast as you can. And if you meander at all, those villages are dead.
Which
and
I like.
I didn't realize the first time that there was like a separate timer in that last section for the fire. Yeah. So I was just not worried about it, and then they burned to death. And I was like,
what's so funny is the first time I played that section, I released them immediately, but there were too many enemies around, so they just got slaughtered and I lost. So I literally left them in the burning building to protect them while I cleared out the orcs and then let them out at the last second.
Yeah, you can kind of game the timer in that way.
I mean, you just have to. Those orcs are deadly. Go ahead.
They're brutal.
That's the one where I really started to look up the combos because I was like, okay, I don't have time to just like do my normal strategy on some of these. I have to clear out like 8 guys and get inside of that building. So that's when I even have like a sticky note around here somewhere, or God, it's this pad right here. I can't find it exactly, but I remember writing down because it was such a pain to go through the menu. Like the loading screens were long and then the interface was like fine, I guess. So I was like, okay, Legolas, here's the combos I have. Aragorn, here's the combos I have. Like that actually
I was about to say, that's another.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's another reason why I just use the XX triangle combo like over and over again, because I was like, I can't memorize all these other combos.
It's the easiest one to like memorize, relative to how good it is. What this game desperately needs is the combo input feature from Helldivers. There we go. I just need,
when you see it like
yeah, I need something in the upper left-hand corner that shows me what I've pressed, like cross, circle, triangle, or whatever, and what combo is activating, and that would make this game amazing to me.
Well, the timing on a lot of these combos is really janky too. I feel like especially in Return of the King, like different characters have different combo timings, and it just makes it so difficult to pull some of these off. When it should be really simple, I feel like.
Yeah.
But other times it's like I'm trying to execute and I thought I hit the right combination of buttons, but it just isn't responding.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Austin. I know my hands are just stupid. So I'm not sure if like y'all if yours are also stupid. So Adam, I feel like you're the best at these timing games. Is it difficult or are we just bad?
It's definitely not super easy. And
Okay.
I do think there's actually one thing we haven't mentioned is that the three characters play, like the controls are more or less the same, but they have distinct like play styles. So Gimli is like really strong melee and he's got his two-handed axe. And then he has these throwing axes that are just not worth using. Then Legolas, he has these two swords that only because of the way the game's like perfect system works, where you build this meter as you do damage and it goes down as you take damage. When you get it to the top, you enter perfect mode, you start doing a ton of damage. Legolas is way better than Legolas's melee is better than Gimli's range because it can build that focus, but it otherwise also kind of sucks as a melee attack. But then his arrows are really strong. And then Aragorn sits somewhere in the middle. I ended up playing Aragorn all through Two Towers because I thought the other two were just like too hard to manage. But I found that like Legolas's combos were way easier to pull off for whatever reason. I don't know if it was like the timing of his attack animations maybe left more of a window to pull them off. And then Aragorn's was a little harder. And then I think I played 2 missions as Gimli and then just swore him off because I could not get like the timing on his axe. So I do think the characters actually mattered for whatever reason.
Between me being under a little real world time pressure and the fact that like, you know, why would I want to play anyone other than the main character? I never tried either Ghibli or Legolas, so I've never actually felt your pain, Austin. It's just the Return of the King game that made me play Gandalf and Sam, and I was like, all right, fine.
It's interesting because in the Two Towers, you play basically one character through, because if you try to go to another character, you have to go back to whatever mission you hadn't beaten with them yet, right? It's almost like 3 distinct, it's the same levels, but you have to beat it with that character. You also, once you complete it, you can't go back and play those levels again. So the experience system that exists, it's like, you better hope you had a good run through this level because otherwise you're just capping yourself out. In Return of the King, not only could you like unlock upgrades for everyone at once by spending like a higher amount of experience, but you could also go back and replay the levels whenever you wanted.
Yeah, such a good feature.
So, yeah, which was a huge improvement, but it was also funny because I felt like in Two Towers, there were times where Austin and I were both like, God, I wish I could grind one more level right now. Whereas in Return of the King, yeah, there were some times we had to try a certain level like 7 times, but we really knew that we could get through it without having to go grind. So it was like, oh, okay, you give me a feature I don't need anymore when I really could have used it in the previous game.
Right. Well, and that's, I mean, Two Towers ends with Helm's Deep, both obviously in the movie and in the game.
Yeah.
And the game splits this into like 3 different levels.
But don't forget the mission where you have to
difficult.
shoot a shitload of explosives in the village, and there's the constant kamikaze urukai.
So
that mission
Yeah.
sucks. I just wanted to mention it before we get to Helm's Deep.
yeah. So talk about where it might kind of abuse the video game adaptation, or maybe there's a bad choice there. In the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, there is exactly 1 explosion, right? And it's when they take down the walls to Helm Deep. In this game, there are exactly 35,000 explosions.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
There is a whole level
awful.
where you are forced to just use your ranged attack to shoot charging kamikaze
Constant work.
urukai. And if you're playing as Gimli in these, this is probably where you stop playing as Gimli, I have to assume.
I cannot.
I was about to say that level didn't give me too much trouble because I did just sit back and blow everything up from a distance, and I was like, "Great, that's how we're gonna do this." That was much worse. The charging urukai was much worse for me in Helm's Deep than the second part.
Yeah.
I hated that level. I hated all the Helm's Deep levels, but. Well, it's really funny because I love the Helm's Deep sequence in the movie. I think it's, phenomenal. One of the coolest siege sequences I've ever seen in anything. Holds
Arguably
up
the best
incredibly well.
part of all 3 movies if you're talking action. Yeah,
It holds up incredibly well, filmed spectacularly, the tension, the atmosphere, everything in the movie is phenomenal. in the game, much less so.
Yeah. So let's talk about this sequence, right? Let's talk about the game first, and then we can talk about the movie. That way, we'll go from bad to better.
That's a good idea.
So the Helm's Deep sequence in the Two Towers game consists of 3 levels. Level 1 is you holding the walls. Level 2 is you defending like a side gate by yourself against this endless onslaught of orcs, which was a new level of hell for me. And then the final level is you kind of like in the inner keep, doing a little bit of what you did in Defend the Walls, but just with like worse camera angles, right? That is one thing I'll say about the two towers. The camera isn't terrible, but once again, from time to time, it enters as the opponent you didn't think about.
Oh God, constantly.
Not
Constantly?
time to time.
Oh, okay. I didn't struggle.
There were multiple times when I would send Adam a Discord, and I was like, "Yeah, just an enemy came out of nowhere and killed me," because the camera.
The Two Towers
won't show
camera
them.
is like trying to almost be more cinematic. There's a lot more turning around corners and doing things.
Yeah.
But then with Return of the King, and I think maybe just because of the same screen co-op, everything is so zoomed out and it doesn't turn that much. It's in fact really weird in the Pelennor Fields level where you have to go across to either side.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out.
just,
That's
awkward.
so strange.
It's so bad.
But for the most part, the zoomed outedness of Return of the King, I think, is a boon, like most of the time.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It makes it much easier to stay alive and to kill enemies.
See, well, look, y'all. The parry is like a 360 parry, right? You just had to kind of like start intuiting when there was an enemy off screen and just always be parrying. Yeah,
it's true. The parry literally parries everything from everywhere.
God.
There were times where we first started in Return of the King where we're like, we're not sure what to do. So we're both just sitting there spamming parry, trying to think like, okay, like, do you think it's over there that we have to go? Or we're talking for like 45 seconds doing nothing but parrying, just trying to figure out like what's
viable tactic.
You were literally invincible when you were parrying. Like, there's no timing involved. There's no nothing. You just spam parry and you're fine.
You know, one thing I will say, listener, the other cool and ridiculous thing you can do in this game is parry arrows. So you can knock away the ranged attacks, which I like the feel of it a bit better in Two Towers. The first time I came across a couple of archers and started parrying arrows right in the way, I was like, oh, I am a Jedi. This is the most Jedi game from 2003. It was incredible.
There's a few too many times in these games though where there's like 3 archers shooting at you and they want you to like parry all 3, and then in like the split second you have before the next one comes, fire off an arrow at one of these people. And if you've been upgrading your arrows, it's not the worst. But again, if you're Gimli and you're throwing these little shitty throwing axes, this is terrible. It takes like 3 entire minutes to go through this because you have to hit each guy with like 3 axes. You don't have time to charge them up. You can charge up your bow and your throwing axe, but you don't have time in these sequences because you're constantly parrying. And yeah, it does seem like they occasionally were like, Star Wars, right?
Yep.
Let's do a Jedi scene here, deflecting blasters, but it just doesn't work well for me.
God, it felt so... Okay, my experience with the Two Towers, the first time I did that, I was like, this is just so fucking cool. And the first time you do stuff like parry some arrows and then do a combo sequence on the guy next to you and then turn around, knock some dude over and like finish him and then parry more arrows. Dude, the second level of this game sold me. I was like, yes, I am signed up for 10 more hours of this. Unfortunately, by the time you get to Helm's Deep, the gimmicks come in hard. And I think we can all agree they kind of bring the game down. Now, I liked holding the walls of Helm's Deep, and throwing orcs off of ladders. Austin, was that satisfying
like
for you?
kicking them off the ledge.
It's fine. I think it works much better in Return of the King, like much of this game. But the wall in Two Towers is so much less, but yet somehow it feels like there's so many more ladders. Like there's much less wall to cover, but there's like 8 times the ladders. And if you're focusing too much on kicking down the ladders, enemies will just easily overrun you and it's over. But if you're focusing too much on the enemies, then there's now 30 ladders and you cannot possibly kick them all down. So this took a while to find the balance of how much should I prioritize enemies versus ladders.
Did y'all like the overrun mechanic? So this is a thing both games did. They would put up a little icon in the corner, and if that icon filled up, you lost the level. I had more than a few times on the wall where it started to get really full, and I was like, oh fuck, it's time for me to murder a bunch of dudes. And successfully draining that meter like back to a manageable level was just so satisfying. I was like, yes, I did retake the wall.
I did like it once I found a good feel for the balance, like Austin is saying, because there was a few times where I was doing the Hell's Deep wall where I was like, I need to go kick down ladders. And it's like, no, I need to kill like 12 orcs and then go kick down ladders because the amount of orcs that's ultimately what fills up the meter. The ladders don't matter for the meter except for insofar, obviously, that brings up more orcs onto the wall. But so it was like finding that balance was cool. I also think Two Towers more forgiving perfect meter is what really saved me in there, because you could very easily get into one-shot mode and clear out those waves of orcs. Whereas in Return of the King, dude, did we have 7 perfect kills across the entire campaign? Yeah.
Probably not, dude. And the Two Towers perfect meter is a lot more forgiving. But in that particular mission, it's really tough because there's so many enemies and half of them are off screen. So it's like, it's really easy to get hit in that mission, I found. So it was hard to build my perfect meter.
The shield breaker combo in that one for sure, because the combo that you like to spam is just going to get deflected off of all the shield bros.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so the walls wasn't a great opening, and then Austin, the next level takes us into probably the worst part of the game. Is that right?
I hated this one. I think Adam didn't have a problem with this one nearly as much as
no,
we did.
I one-shotted this one.
What?
No save state either.
What? I have no...
It took me 12 attempts to do the next one, so don't feel bad.
I have no fucking idea how you did that. I was
absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, I was struggling with this so hard that like I did a save state right after they bring out the final like fucking siege engine, which as a game set piece feels cool. They like roll up this giant siege engine, right? You've been defending this door for what feels like hours against waves of explosive enemies and those fucking dual axe orcs that would chop it down in seconds, and 2 goddamn ogres. And so they finally roll up this giant siege engine, and they just sit back and start shooting catapult shots at the door, and there's just a legion of orcs in front of it, and you have to go charge them and take out the siege weapon. I saved right after that segment. I think my door had maybe like 4 or 5 shots worth of health left, so I had to sprint fucking up there and like destroy the trebuchet while fighting the orcish horde. And I did that save state like a dozen times. Austin, how in the world did you beat
it? It was awful. Oh, it was awful. Adam did tell me that the trick to this was to just like spam the heavy charge triangle attack against the catapult, and that helped a ton. It's still awful. Just absolutely miserable experience for me, but that did make a big difference. I think the first part of this mission was fine. Like I was like the hordes of orcs running, you're shooting arrows, blowing them up, fighting off the couple groups. Like that was all fine. It was not until the catapult comes out that I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Did your door have a lot of health when the catapult came out?
It was like half. My problem wasn't the door. My problem wasn't the door going down. A bigger part of my problem was me going down.
Oh, no.
Like, I was trying to fight the catapult while all the other orcs were coming at me. It was awful.
That's the only way I could win, was by getting, like, extra shots in on the catapult as I was chopping through the orcs. Adam, how much health did your door have?
Almost full. I honestly don't know how you guys struggled before the catapult. The catapult was hard. I think if the catapult had gotten one more shot off, I would have lost. It was like that close to the nick of time. But no, so there was a particular combo, and I don't know which one it was, but it was one that ended with a triangle. And if you got that off, it would kill the crazy Uruk-hai, like with the one combo. So I was just basically standing right next to the door, using that every time something came up, and then just making sure to shoot the explosive boys. Also, like timing your explosive boys to when they're next to things by the door, but not close enough to hit the door was like a real...
That was super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a real like...
But I do think the only reason I got it in one go though was like when I got to the catapult and thinking to myself, you know, that charge triangle thing I've put a bunch of points into that I never really use, that might be good to hit all 3 of these at once. It turns out it was like the best thing to use in that scenario.
Yeah, I might have just built my character wrong or something, or not used the right combos, because
which you can do because you can't replay the levels. Yeah. And if you select the wrong shit,
I could not.
There's definitely an element of luck involved.
Yeah, I could not find a way to correctly kill the massive orcs at the door fast enough. Like whatever combos I was doing either wouldn't hit enough of them, or like one of them would turn around and knock me down, and then like they would just chip through that health meter so fast. Austin?
Yeah.
I think ironically, I had the easiest time with the last one, which I know is the one that Adam struggled the most.
I
on.
honestly don't even remember that. Like we killed some orcs and went home. That's all I thought happened.
So by this point, I'm not playing like with the sound all the way up, and there's a voice cue that's like, "Get the archers on the wall." Every other time in this entire fucking game, both games, I want to be clear. Every other time across both games, there is a little camera that shows you something, or a life meter appears on the screen of one of your characters. Every other time. But in this one, it's just like, while there's explosions and metal clanging, he's like, archers on the wall. And if you don't go up there and shoot them, and they're in the background, by the way, right? Yeah. Like, you can only get them by shooting them. Again, if you played Gimli in this, just God fucking bless you, because like that would have been a nightmare. You have to go kill those archers, and they will just overwhelm the wall. So it took me 6 or 7 attempts to be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Looking it up, and someone on Reddit's like, kill the archers on the wall. And I was like, God damn it. So that, once I realized that, it wasn't too bad, but.
Yeah.
Adam gave me that tip ahead of time going into the mission. Made it so much easier. I was like, yeah, this is simple. If I didn't know that, if he hadn't told me that, that could have been much worse.
I definitely was.
That one's fun though,
and did not notice that voice line the first time. But after I lost, I was like, oh, did he say something? And I guess I stumbled my way into like, oh, you have to shoot these archers in the background. That feels very different than any other objective ever. But whatever.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Like, why are they literally in the background? Like you wouldn't even think they're targetable.
It's the last level. They had a deadline. Someone just forgot to make that good.
Especially because right before that happens, there's a little cinematic where it's like Legolas is on the wall. So you go up and defend Legolas. Then there's one where Gimli's by the gate. I thought you were supposed to sit there and stop Gimli from dying. So I'm just killing all of these orcs around Gimli. And I'm not worried about the archers that aren't hitting either me or Gimli. And it's like, it's a fucking wall. Why am I worried about archers shooting a wall? I fucking hate it.
I think the idea was like, you like run up to Legolas, then you run back down to Gimli, then you have to run up and kill the archers, then you got to run back down to Gimli again. It wanted you to run all over the place with these cinematic camera angles, and it just felt kind of silly.
And I never figured out where the stairs were on the first time I tried to go up them ever. Yeah,
it's bad camera angles on that one was tough too. Very very similar to like the Pelennor Fields in Return of the King, where it's like, how do I navigate this space?
It was definitely very silly. Maybe not as silly as charging down a causeway with 5 horses, but I think we've beaten the video game Helm's Deep to death. Adam, tell us a little bit about the movie screenplay adaptation of Helm's Deep.
Oh, hold on, we didn't get to the bonus secret levels.
Wait, there's bonus secret levels?
Not at all. It's not even a little bit.
You fight 20 waves of enemies and you only heal half your health in between each one. And if you get all 3 characters, if you beat it with all 3 characters, you unlock Isildur and you can play him through the game.
Okay.
I got to like 14 with Aragorn. I was like, never mind.
I had to play other.
I'm surprised you even tried it at all.
Yeah.
Being thorough for the podcast research, I understand.
Yeah, listen, gotta do it. But no, truly, it is time to move on to the movies. Which, I'm sorry, what did you ask me? Like, say what I think about the screenplay?
Yeah, sorry, the Helm's Deep movie adaptation, as opposed to the video game adaptation we've beaten to death.
Oh, so good. I mean, especially because they do such a good job of like building up the tension, because halfway through the movie that all of the people fleeing the surrounding countryside are going to Helm's Deep. And that like the Aragorn is kind of like, I don't know, like they're walking into a trap basically. I don't know if this is a good idea. And Theoden's like, no, Helm's Deep has served us before, it will serve us again. Then you eventually realize that Theoden's like, yeah, dude, I know we're all going to our fucking deaths, but like, what do you want me to do? And then, the orcs show up and there's the explosion that happens that breaches the wall, but the elves had also shown up to reinforce them. And man, there's so much good stuff happening before the combat really starts that gives it like so much tension that when it does start, and then there's more things that continue to happen through the battle, they give it even more tension. And then it ends with the Riders of Rohan and Gandalf coming over the top of the hill. And it's, dude, so good. so good.
I love that Helm's Deep gives everybody little character moments. Like Aragorn and Gimli have their little moment. Legolas, shield surfs down the stairs while firing arrows at people.
Yeah.
Like everybody has their own little moments, and you get to see little highlights from all the different segments of the battle. And kind of like you were saying, it progresses. The wall stands tall, everything seems fine, and then they blow up the wall, and now it's like, oh, we have to fall back, and there's this constant, everyone's kind of on their heels, falling back, until Gandalf comes to save the day in like a super sick scene.
Yeah, the way Balin's Tomb is every D&D campaign I want to play. This battle is like every video game strategy campaign I want to play, right? Defending the walls, falling back to the keep, holding out in the citadel. It is just, this depiction hits all of the emotional moments you want for that. The internet would tell you that core male urge of having a valiant last stand, right? That said, this depiction is fucking hysterical in my mind. If you want to, it looks great because of all the practical effects, but you could, if you wanted to, pick apart some dumb details. But I think it is ultimately relatively absurd, and that's why I like it so much.
It's fantastic.
Quick question for y'all. Is Toss Me the greatest cinematic moment in this series?
Toss Me.
It's like, it's so fucking
it's
dumb.
awesome.
But
No, it's awesome.
in a way that, it's like Gimli is very much the comic relief in this throughout. So it fits his character a lot. And it also, it's not just like totally cheap, because we've been seeing the way him and Legolas have this kind of rivalry. And he's like, hey, don't tell the elf. Like, so
right.
It is ultimately in service of character moments and not just like cheap slapstick humor, right? So I think it works. Yeah.
It totally works, but it's so funny. I mean, like, I don't know if they make a lot of short jokes, but like in trying to catch up, Gimli is like literally axing people in the nuts. Like he slides between an orc's legs at one point, which is just a scene I had completely forgotten about, and I legitimately laughed out loud.
I didn't realize that the counting bit started in Helm's Deep in this movie. I thought that was a Return of the King thing. So I was nice to see like, oh, they start the counting here. Like here's where they start their count for how many orcs they can kill. That's awesome.
Legolas's first quip back to Gimli where he's like 17. The look on his face is just so good.
Like, what do you mean?
What?
Well, so much of this movie is, the script is phenomenal, I think. Like, just the whole script from beginning to end is so much of the writing and particularly like the dialogue sounds fantastical while still being easy to follow, easily digestible. Like, it's not pretentious and overwhelming and like using a bunch of words that nobody's ever heard of, but it still feels elevated. It feels like it's not two people talking on a podcast.
Oh, yeah. I think elevated is the perfect word, because it does manage to sound like everyone is, that sort of, it's that fantasy lingo and everything is like, kingdoms and ancient this and that. But then it's not like, it's not Shakespearean, right? It's very approachable and digestible. Yeah, I agree. It's really great. Yeah.
I was surprised by how much of this movie was like, obviously I knew a bunch of the iconic lines, but then there's just so much of it that's memeable. With like the potatoes and they're taking the hobbits to Isengard. I'm just
so many memes.
Every time I see these, I'm like, there's so many memes.
So somehow I didn't, or maybe I just like forgot over time, especially because there was like a whole 10-year period where I didn't use the internet. I didn't read like Reddit is really what I'm saying. But I did not know about the Mortensen breaking his toe on the helmet thing. And my wife was like so overjoyed to tell me that. And then when she realized that I legitimately didn't know it, her eyes just lit up and she was like, oh my God, did I just actually get to tell someone in real time that Viggo Mortensen broke his toe on the helmet?
Awesome.
That's so funny. It made her hold
That's so good. Oh man, that's so good.
But before we get into Return of the King, I do want to just talk about a few more things about the two movies, because like, the movies themselves are just so good. And frankly, like way better than the games, and not because the games are bad, but just because the movies are so good. So is there any other like particular scenes you guys wanted to discuss? Because man, some of my favorites, like the whole, especially in the extended cut, the conversations and the act of getting Theoden like uncorrupted from Saruman's magic and seeing like the conversations he has with Eowyn and Eomer and him exiling Eomer and that coming all the way to the culmination of Gandalf like pulling the evil out of him. And, you know, you mentioned the guy's name's literally Wormtongue and like all of this. That whole part is so good. And I think that's one of those ones where like, if I was 15 and I saw this, I'd have been like, bleh, talking, like, where, you know, where's the action? But man, it is so amazing in the extended cut, especially.
I was about to say, I wonder if that works better in the extended cut, because I didn't think it was bad by any means, but it didn't stand out to me in a strong way in the theatrical cut. And I wonder if it just has more time to like develop and get fleshed out in the extended cut.
I think it does.
It does feel a little underbaked, isn't the right term, but it feels very much like a side plot. And I very quickly forgot that the King of Rohan, who also now physically looks different, right? Because he's no longer under Saruman's influence, was the old decrepit guy in the beginning that Gandalf rescued. I don't know. There's a lot of classic moments in this movie, like bits that I've seen throughout other media, like them having to give up their weapons, but they forget to take the wizard staff, you know, Wormtongue being creepy. And it's like, well, what has Saruman promised you? And it's like the hot girl. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. So the fact that he's like,
that tracks like fine.
Yeah. The fact that he's just like pale and creepy all around. I was like, oh, okay. This feels like it's like if you've seen Disney's The Lion King, but have never read Hamlet, like you would find Hamlet very boring because it's, as it turns out, you've seen all this before.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I just realized, does the woman from the village talking to her daughter, does that count as special test satisfaction? They're not talking about a man. They're talking to each other.
I think it does.
Hey, good job, Peter Jackson. We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
If you count children, I guess I think that children would count.
So right? It can't be. It's not just females. It's particularly women. Like adult women. Is that
right? I guess that's the question. Is it women or females? Because it's two different. Right? If it's adult women, then it still fails.
Ah, damn. Well, we came close to doing it, guys. But that's another scene I actually really like is when they. Like it does feel a little like, oh yeah, the two kids that ran out ahead to Helm's Deep, while their mother was like in a village being ransacked. She got away. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? At least it's heartwarming, you know.
Exactly.
It is heartwarming. It is. Is this where we see the Ents attack in this one?
That's right.
That's at the end of Two Towers, like kind of coinciding with Helm's Deep. Mm-hmm. I thought that I was really impressed by kind of the political messaging almost of this at the time, like the
environmental message,
literally literally nature fighting back against the industrialization and the, you know, like I was like, okay, that's a pretty direct like reference to, you know, environmentalism and stuff like that in a movie that, or in a series that at the time was written in the 50s. I mean, right, like the books were written a long time ago, so that I thought was pretty poignant. Like, okay, that's an effective message. It's literally the trees fighting back.
Yeah, you mentioned that
the
to
Ents
me.
are just cool. Like,
oh yeah, well you mentioned that to me, so I thought, okay, when did Silent Spring come out? You know, Rachel Carson's like iconic like environmentalism book, right? It was after these books, so yeah. I mean, it was pretty cool that was like a thing on his mind when it hadn't necessarily like been a thing that breached the cultural consciousness yet, right?
This would be another great exercise for the reader. I haven't read the Two Towers book and like the depiction of Ents by Tolkien recently enough to know, but like those feel very much inspired by like British paganism, like what's the word, like druidism and stuff, where it's like the magic of the old forest. So that's where I imagine the Ents being inspired from, rather than like an environmental narrative. So it'd be interesting to know if this is like Peter Jackson taking a slightly more modern thing, or if that was present in Tolkien's original story too. I don't know. Go find out, reader, listener.
Tolkien was staunchly, I mean, he was a very avid Catholic. Like he was very practicing Catholic. Like all these books are very, I think he's gone on to say that while they weren't explicitly based in Christianity, they are inherently Christian works, which is interesting. Yeah.
Well, he hated allegory and always argued with C.S. Lewis that he's like, your books are too transparently just Christ. Like, come on, you gotta.
Right. He's like, really, Aslan? Come on, man.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we get it. The lion's Jesus.
But I think he also admitted, he's like, but obviously, like, people talking about them being allegory for World War One. He's like, well, I did fight in World War One, and I can't write a book as if I hadn't fought in World War One. So I'm sure some of it has like leaked through. But he was always very adamant that he was like, I was not like attempting to do this, but like very possibly some of it happened anyway, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine Frodo and Sam's relationship not being inspired by someone going through combat in the First World War, but
like, for sure.
Again, I'm light on Tolkien's personal history, so listener, go find out for yourself.
Well, why don't we move into the last part of our journey here, the Return of the King. This, like we had mentioned before, Austin and I started playing this game first before the other one, which was not the move. It's just like going back from, I don't know how to describe. I don't have a good analogy here, but it was definitely a regression. We will say
it's like
that.
Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 1 game.
Okay, yeah, like I said, we don't have a good analogy here.
It's just other video games we've played out of order. Look, play them in order, folks, especially if you're doing an old game.
The fact that you could upgrade all the characters at once, though, was cool because that meant that like I would occasionally play some of the other ones. But what we found out, though, is like, well, what all you're really doing is unlocking the combos for every character. You still have to gain the levels to be able to use those things we unlocked. So it went from like, ooh, I'm going to play a couple different characters to, never mind, I guess I'm just Aragorn until the end of this. And Austin was like, I'm just going to be Legolas. Or no, he's like, you played Gandalf when he was there. And then when he wasn't, you played Legolas, I think. Yeah.
That was pretty much my path. And you were like Aragorn all the way through, pretty much.
Like, Aragorn's the main character. He's the best. He's the greatest.
That's true. Yeah. Until we were on the Hobbit missions and like we had to play, it was like Sam, but you couldn't play Frodo. So they just like randomly threw, was it Pippin or Merry?
Yeah, I think it was Merry.
They put a third Hobbit one of them in there, but you don't.
Dude, it makes no sense because rather than say picking parts of the game where they can make a level to where Frodo isn't captured, they just only use sections where Frodo can't do anything. And then you play as Sam and the co-op character is just Merry or Pippin. I can't remember which one, but it's just, even though they're never, literally they get separated at the end of Two Towers and are not reunited until the films are over.
Yeah.
But you just get to play teleporting Merry as the co-op character the whole time.
It's very strange. It's a very strange choice.
I guess that makes sense because like I feel like they chose good segments for Sam.
But only for Sam.
Yeah.
To be fair, from the start of Fellowship, Frodo's only purpose is to basically be captured, be attacked by something, or like hide. Like he does nothing in these movies.
I could have gone with an escape from oh my god, what is it? Osgiliath. Where you just, why not play Frodo and Sam there? Like maybe you don't need that stupid mechanic, or the mechanic can just apply to you instead of Frodo following you around.
You can just hide. Yeah.
Then like in Shelob's lair, like fair enough, like Frodo kind of has to be captured there. Is there a third one before the Gollum fight?
Orc fortress that you retrieve him from.
Oh yeah, that Sam like brutalizes a whole battalion on his own.
Oh my god, I fucking love it. All right, so real quick, let's set up the game. So the game had 3 different branching story paths, right? So you play that first level, you're Gandalf, and then there's a branch that continues Gandalf, that's 3 missions, a branch that continues the Hobbits, that are 3 missions, and then the main line is, I guess you can play Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, but as Adam pointed out, why would you play anyone other than Aragorn? To round out the experience mechanic, as soon as I realized this had branching story paths and I'd be forced to play someone who wasn't Aragorn, I was like, oh, so Gandalf's going to spend all his experience unlocking things for Aragorn. Same thing with the Hobbits, and then I'll just play a souped up Aragorn. That's what we're doing. That's just happening. But I thought that was a really cool way to like portray how different this game was, I guess, gonna have to be. What did you think about that, Adam?
I enjoyed it. I thought it helped cover more scenes rather than trying to just force another Fanghorn Forest situation where our three combat characters are doing things that did not even come close to happening in the films. And I know Austin loved playing as Gandalf. His little staff blast was crazy good.
Dude, Austin, how much did you love Magic Missile?
Oh my god, dude. It literally is just Magic Missile, and it's so sick.
Yeah.
And he has the little like shield thing. I do like how varied the characters are in this one as opposed to the last one, where it's like everybody just kind of does the exact same thing, but Some have slightly better range or slightly worse range, or you're Gimli, whatever. Um, Here though, I liked that like Gandalf had a shield with his staff. The hobbits could do their like invisibility cloak thing. I thought those were cool ways to make those characters feel fresh and different, and it wasn't like you were just playing the same character all the way across.
Yeah, they did a very good job of iterating on the concepts that worked before. Like, I think they refined a lot of the combat and, like you said, made the characters feel interesting. That opening level, it's literally the end of Helm's Deep, right? It's right after the charge of the Rohirrim and you're playing as Gandalf, which has you do a bunch of stuff that teach you like the handful of new mechanics, like using catapults and climbing up walls and shit. Yeah. And then you're just like right back into the same game, but better. God, Magic Missile was so much fun. Oh my God.
Which interesting fact about that first mission. I didn't play it this time around because it is not available in co-op.
Yeah.
So because you only play as Gandalf, it's not available in co-op.
That's so funny. So did you guys play that at all?
I've played it. I've played it before,
then...
like in the past, but I did not play it this time around because I just started the co-op with Adam. So I've played it, I've beaten this game like 3 times in my life, but this particular time I never touched it.
It's interesting what we had to do to get this to work because it's local co-op. And so we used this program called Parsec, where basically Austin can just like have real-time inputs to my computer. And so that was feeding through the emulator. And he's basically watching a stream of me playing where he can control the second character on the stream.
I was going to ask how the fuck you guys did that. Good job.
Which worked out shockingly well. Like there was basically zero input lag. I was really impressed by how like virtually non-existent the input lag was.
Yeah, because it was either that or like hunt down. Well, first off, we live too far away from each other. But even if we could theoretically end up in the same place, what we would have had to do to get a legit like PS2 controllers, PS2 console, and the games themselves wasn't going to happen. So
yeah, no way.
Yeah. But that ended up working well. Did you ever unlock the raise the staff up and slam it down thing for Gandalf?
I did not, because as I said, I just used him as to grind experience for Aragorn. Right?
Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
Austin, why don't you tell us how Gandalf works and his cool special powers?
Oh, Gandalf's so sick though. Like
he looked sick, but like I didn't use those abilities.
No, I mean I had to. Right, Adam had the Aragorn on lock. But I really like his shield. It came in handy a couple of times in the Black Gate mission when it was just like we're just gonna throw up the shield here. And I mean all the characters have their special like charge attack. Gandalf's was cool. It was kind of AoE. Gandalf was great. I thought he was the most fun to play outside of Aragorn, I think, for me.
I would certainly say that, and I didn't even upgrade him.
Yeah. Legolas had the charge attack that did poison. Aragorn's did fire. I don't actually know what Gimli's did because it just barely ever touched Gimli's in these games. I was going to say ice, maybe lightning. No.
Who knows?
Gandalf kind of had lightning, so I don't know what Gimli did.
Yeah.
Probably nothing. It was 0 element. Just...
It might have been the same because like it seemed like they were going through a progression of like damage upgrade and then lightning and then fire. Because at some point I had lightning arrows as Aragorn and then later I got fire arrows.
The hobbits I never particularly cared for. Their little invisibility thing was kind of interesting, and I remember doing that mission in Cirith Ungol, and we were getting crushed at the beginning. It was awful. And we were like, okay, what if we just stealth and sneak around, and then we'll drop the drawbridge, and it'll kill a couple, and then it was just so bad because the hobbits were so weak.
So hold on. Tell me what order you guys did these missions in. Did you like pick a branch and do a whole branch? Like I went Gandalf, Hobbit.
It stops you from progressing the middle one after a certain point, and you have to go do the other ones, right? So it's like we played as far as we could through the middle. Then I think we did Gandalf. Then we did the Hobbit, and then we finished up the middle, I want to say.
Yeah, I thought that was the order you had to do it.
No, I because the tutorial mission that you skipped is Gandalf. I just went and did Gandalf's wing, and then I went and did the Hobbit's ring, and then I played Aragorn straight through, baby.
Interesting.
The Hobbit missions were like, also, you remember in Shelob's Lair, like we first start off, and we're just trying to play against the spiders like we would against the orcs, and it was not working. They're like so beefy. But this game really rewarded you for using the combos on the right enemies, because you could just do the little thing where you like tackled them and they'd flip over and then you could stab them. So it was just an entire level of spamming that one combo on every single spider we came across. And then when you fought the orcs, man, the insta-gib parry thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it was just
And
do that over and over and over.
instant perfect, like
Yeah.
you're like instantly imperfect, and then you can crush the next couple was super cool.
It's so
Because trying to
fucking
fight
good.
with the hobbits normally was not a great time.
It's so funny though, because me playing it solo, I'm just running around as Sam the whole time and pulling off these orc assassination moves or whatever. It's just, regardless of how it worked mechanically, it was just so fucking funny the whole time. And like the very dramatic boss battle with the spider, like Jesus Christ, that I feel like a god.
The God, so you remember this one opens up in the path of, like, they call it the path of the fellowship. It's really just the 3 guys from the first game, right?
Right.
That is the dead missions, like where they go to the army of the dead and recruit them, and they turn that into, like, is it 3 missions? 2 missions? I can't remember.
It's
2,
2, I think.
It's 2.
Okay, yeah. Austin, on the escape, this is when we realized that some characters just moved faster than others, because I was Aragorn and he was Gandalf, and he kept dying to the Fallen, or just like not progressing fast enough, because I had gotten so far ahead of him that like whatever triggered that, he just couldn't keep up. So I had to like purposely slow down and make sure he ran ahead of me, or else Aragorn, even through the slow fog crap, we just like pass Gandalf, and then the trigger would pass Gandalf, and then you would lose the mission.
So I definitely died
we
to the
we
cave
failed that like
collapsing.
3 times.
So I don't quite know how that trigger works, but you can definitely like move too slowly. And the first time I went through the fog, it caught up with me, and I was like, "What is this bullshit?" How did you guys feel about the Austin? I'll let you talk us through how the boss fight with the undead king went. How did that go for you?
Honestly, I think that fight is fine. Like the kind of like Adam was talking about earlier with the 2 towers. The comparison between 2 towers had a lot of mechanics driven fights, and this game is mostly just whack on them until they die. And that's fine. The only real mechanic in this is hide behind his magical wave attack thing that he does. And other than that, it's just kind of crush him and then kill his little ads, like, oh, he'll throw little archers up here and there. But I honestly, I liked a lot of the boss fights in this game. I think it's interesting that 2 Towers had more mechanics driven fights, but this game gives you more mechanics in the missions, like with the hiding in Osgiliath to hide from the ring race. And there's the one in Pelennor Fields where you have to take down the giant walking Osculoths, the stupid elephant guys. I don't remember their names. Oliphants, that's it. Yeah. And then you have to protect Mary and Elwyn from the Witch King. So there's a couple of mechanics driven things, but I do like that a lot of the boss fights are kind of just whack them. Just hit them a lot.
But man, the Mary and Eowyn thing was just like, Jesus Christ. Because we kept trying to just get over there in time the first couple times, and they would die so quick.
That's really the biggest issue.
And then the time we actually did it, it's like the second we got on screen, we both just spammed arrows at the Witch King, and he died in 6 seconds and flew away. And I was like, okay, that was kind of anticlimactic, but that mission is still fun, as a whole.
Playing it solo, the fact that the boss mechanics were mostly wail on things did feel a bit underwhelming, which is again why I was abusing the save state.
Right, yeah.
The Undead King was, and again, you guys were asking me about checkpoints. There were some checkpoints in solo mode, but some missions weren't, and it never felt like they were often enough. But
there's literally 0 on co-op. If you die before the end, you're all the way starting back over, which happened a few times.
So
I was
wait,
about to say
if either one of you
dies,
do you have to start over?
So you basically have respawns, but only so many.
Right,
and it wasn't a lot. I think it was usually 1. Basically one of you could die and you'd come back in 10 seconds. But then if another one of you died, it was over.
That was it. I think you had 3 total lives. So it was your 2 to start and then 1 death. And then if you died again, it was well, that sucks. And it was brutal to have to restart those missions from the very end and go all the way back to the beginning and restart.
Yes,
because we never save stated.
Yeah, so. Even doing some of the checkpoints that would get you halfway through the level, I was still plenty frustrated, being well, I'm not gonna do that again.
Right? Yeah.
Man, there were a few levels in Return of the King that I think I really struggled with. Nothing really on the Hobbit side, surprisingly, after I figured out that there was more cover than I thought to hide under in that first level with Sam and Frodo. But the wall defense repeat with Gandalf. And,
Minas Tirith.
Yeah. Oh, well, honestly, I guess it was just that. And then the final Black Gate level, which was so fucking frustrating. So yeah,
Black Gate was tough. Even on co-op, that one took us a few.
I might be biased because I like Minas Tirith Gate a little bit more than Helm's Deep's Gate in the game, at least, because I felt like it was just, there was like more space to cover, but it didn't feel as frequent with the ladders flying everywhere, and like it just felt more manageable, even though there was more space.
Oh, it was definitely less manageable for me. How did you feel about the siege towers?
See, I liked those. I thought that was cool. Like, I thought that was a cool addition. I like having to take them out from a distance. Like,
I will say though,
missiling them from a distance. Like,
some of this stuff was just easier with co-op because, like you were mentioning, the undead king.
Yeah.
Well, one of us could tie up with the king while the other one took out the archers, and then having two people focus on the siege towers, or like in the fields of Pelennor where you're supposed to shoot the ballistas like at the elephants. We literally never use them because it's way easier to just shoot them with arrows and axes and stuff.
Right.
Especially with two players. So the co-op definitely, like, while you don't get the checkpoints, I do think it's more than made up by the fact that, like, there's two of you.
Yeah, that was...
Well, I was to say the game in a lot of ways feels designed around the co-op.
Yeah.
But, with the pulled back camera, the wider open spaces, the upgrade sharing all the way down the board. Like, it feels like a lot of these things are designed around play this with your friends, and so it makes sense that some things would probably be easier with those friends.
Yeah, I was definitely, so like the Minas Tirith wall defense was only like the third mission I played, right? Because I was grinding Gandalf. And that's where I started to wonder, like, am I going too far down one storyline? Do I need more abilities? Because this is fucking tough running to different ends of the walls to deal with the siege towers. And you can only destroy one with a catapult. Like, I couldn't figure out how to kill the other one for several tries, and then I realized I could just magic missile it. So I just stood in front of it and blasted it to death. Which
the
was
answer
incredible.
to everything with Gandalf, as it turns out, is just feed him the arrows that spawn so he can just spam his missile the entire game.
It's really true. That was the upgrade that we focused on the most with Gandalf. Was like, let's see how much we can make his magic do.
There were times we passed up the everybody upgrades just so we could instead give him better missiles, because there was always the best.
So,
it's true. It did so much damage.
How many levels can you play with Gandalf? So there's his branch in the main storyline. Does he only come in at the end?
No, so I can't remember exactly how it worked, but at some point during the fellowship levels, you can start playing as him. Maybe it was just the Black Gate. I think it was just the
Black Gate.
Okay.
But you could go back once you beat it and play, because we played the Witch King with Gandalf after, or not the Witch King, the Undead King. We went back to that one and played that with Gandalf and Aragorn after we already beat it.
Okay.
Because you could replay all the missions.
We were trying to get Gandalf a couple levels so that he could actually use the fellowship unlocks we had paid so much money for.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
the Black Gate level is a particularly brutal one.
That's fucking nuts, and it was so hard to keep the three of them alive. Again, save state abuse, and like the way I finished that was just finding like the last two like orc captains that spawn that you have to kill, and it's like I just have to kill them faster than everything else kills Gimli.
Yeah.
So.
The fact that when co-op one of those three players is just you helps so much. So there's only two idiots you have to worry about. Yeah.
The co-op having one of you be the other thing to keep alive, so much better. And you can coordinate with your partner and be like, okay, I'm gonna go over here and focus on this, make sure Legolas stays alive or Gimli stays alive. Was nice.
Yeah, so you heard it here, folks. I played the harder version of the game. Props to me.
Probably.
While save stating. It can't.
Yes, while cheating prolifically. So.
Got him.
but this whole game does just feel massively improved over the first one. Maybe like massively is not the right word, but noticeably. Because between the camera just being wider to accompany co-op and there just being less of the like this guy comes from around a corner or off screen moments. The fact that I felt the combos were a little easier to pull off, especially the insta kill combo was way easier to pull off. I wouldn't even call it a combo. It's like 2 buttons. But yeah, so there's like just enough improvements to where this was like a much more like when we died, we felt more of like, okay, truly a skill issue. We need to approach this differently. We need to maybe just like level up a little more, use the combos more. Whereas there's so many times in Two Towers where I was just like, oh my God, like that was bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yep. Very familiar. I totally agree with y'all. This is definitely one of those cases where they took a good game and then executed it better in every regard. I don't feel any desire to go back and play the Two Towers, especially with how tedious the Helm's Deep ending was.
Yeah, the only thing, like we were kind of saying, I might put over is I did enjoy the way some of the like boss mechanics works in Two Towers. But it definitely wasn't the kind of thing where it was like, would I trade that for any of the games that we got in Return of the King? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, let me get through the last of, I think, our complaints here. So speaking of boss battles, how about that Gollum boss fight? How did you, Austin, what did you think of that as the capstone to this series of games?
It is a really strange way to end this game because it does feel, and I understand, right? It's the end of the movie, so it makes sense that it'd be the end of the game. But it is just nothing like any of the rest of the game. It is just lure Gollum to the edge and then whack on him until he falls off the edge, and then rinse repeat that like 5 times.
Which,
well, Jeff, on single player, are you playing as Frodo?
Yes, you are level 1
Frodo
fighting Gollum. So on co-op, as far as you can tell, doesn't take damage. Good.
Yeah. On co-op, like one of you has to play Frodo, but then the other gets to be Sam. So that like Sam's a little beefier. Yeah,
he has combos. He has more health. All that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a really interesting choice, is to force you into the character they wouldn't let you play the whole game. Which I guess is why he's not a proper boss fight. It's like you're not really doing damage to him normally. You're trying to lure him to the edge and like do a thing. But
which playing it, right? Like, I was like, okay, all right, fine. This is the climactic moment of the Lord of the Rings, right? The ring is getting destroyed. I get why we're doing this. I figured out that like, okay, so Gollum is a special boss. All right, let's do this mechanic. Took me a while for him to get knocked off the edge, and then he like scrambles back up. I'm like, fuck, what am I supposed to? Oh, right, the finisher move. Okay, so I figured that out. And I finally knock him off the edge the first time. And I'm like, okay, that was kind of dumb, but that was a fun little puzzle. And now I get to see the cinematic, right? And then that fucker clings to the wall and climbs back up like some sort of like fucking insect or something. And then he gets back up and he's lost maybe 1/8 of his health. And that's where I was no, fuck you. I hate whoever designed this.
And it just gets worse when the lava pillars fall through.
It's such a random fight too, because we played it like 4 different times, and half the times Gollum's just standing in the middle, like, come get me. And you have to chase him around in circles until he gets to the edge. And then the last time we did it, he consistently jumped to the edge and we just had to knock him over. Like, we never had to chase him there. He just kind of got stuck in a loop of jumping to the very edge, and all we had to do was hit him 1 or 2 times, and it was it.
It often felt like corralling a greased pig kind of thing. And then in the one time we won, though, it was like the pig was being very cooperative and kept running to where he needed to go.
Right. He just did exactly what we wanted to. It was like, well, this is perfect.
Again, I feel like the way we were kind of complaining about the archers at the end of Two Towers, it feels like this game studio, however they do quality assurance or their development cycle, is that when they get up against the deadline, the last thing they focused on is the end of the game. Because this feels like if anyone had actually play tested this, they would have been like, oh, this is not fun at all. Like, why would we do this? Like Austin said earlier, it's always great when a game throws out all of its mechanics in its final moment. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So that might be like most of the aspects of the game. I don't think there was any hit. I know after you beat it, you can play as like Faramir, who's just, I'm pretty sure I was looking this up. He's just Aragorn with slightly better ranged attack and slightly worse melee, but is otherwise just Aragorn. I don't think there's any secret levels though in this one. So that's pretty much that. Let's talk about the movie, because I know, Austin, like this was your favorite of the three movies, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This one holds up to me as the best. Much like the game is better than Two Towers. But,
Right.
the movie is also better than Two Towers for me. I was actually surprised that Two Towers was my least favorite because I feel like I hear people talk about it being the best all the time. And it was my least favorite of the three movies. But
Helm's
that's,
Deep doesn't save it for you?
it's really good, but I find the beginning meanders a bit in a way that I was kind of like, I mean, it does have some memes, right? It's got the potatoes, it's got the taking the Hobbit to Isengard, but the memes couldn't, it couldn't take over the fact that I thought some of the beginning kind of meandered.
There might be a reason why the beginning of the movie has a lot of memes, because there's not a lot else there. So,
but Return of the King is, I mean, just nonstop. It goes, and I really really like Return of the King. I think all the iconic scenes, the siege at Minas Tirith, the Gondor calls for aid, and then Rohan will answer is just it's so good.
How hyped were you?
Oh, so hyped. The music swells in those moments. Yeah. It's like
that's like a 3-minute scene in which you don't see anyone's face up close and there's no dialogue, and yet you were just like out of your seat levels of hype for this whole thing, because it's right after like Rohan will answer the beacon lights, or not, that's at the end, but the beacon lights, and you see the camera swivel all across the fucking continent, and the music is just dun, 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 dun. and then it's Aragorn sees the last one and he sprints up the steps. Oh, from beginning to end, it's so good. It's such a good scene.
I will say the Black Gate level did have that going for it, though. They used the score to real good effect.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, I felt kind of like I was in the movie, being Aragorn fighting like this last battle. Like, game devs, if you can, get a good score from someone, some iconic score, and that'll do a lot of work for you.
Well, and I mean, that Black Gate, to talk about the, like, Aragorn's speech before the Black Gate is still one of the most iconic speeches. I think, like, rallying cries is just so good. Today is not that day. Like,
I was so sad that wasn't in the game.
I want to go ride into battle. I know, right? I want to go ride into battle for Aragorn in that moment. like put me on a horse. Let's go.
This one had, I don't know if it was like a lot of deleted scenes, but there's, we already talked about the Saruman thing that's just totally absent from the theatrical release. But in the extended edition, there is this really long flashback sequence that is actually split into multiple parts that is Faramir and Boromir and their father. And it basically established the whole thing where, like, the king thinks like Faramir's a loser and that Boromir's the better one, but Boromir is like sticking up for Faramir, and it like basically talks about why Boromir is going to go answer this call in Rivendell because they're secretly trying to bring the ring back. And it's actually like really, really well done. And it is probably like 80% of the cut content is like this whole Boromir and Faramir like backstory thing.
That sounds awesome. That's like super. I think now I'm gonna have to go watch the extended cut for
right, yeah. Boromir, Sean Bean might be in Return of the King longer than he was in the Fellowship if you include the extended edition.
I completely believe that.
Wild. That's crazy, because Denethor is such a pathetic character.
Yes.
Throughout the entirety of the theatrical cut, at least. And I imagine maybe if giving some of that extended cut stuff, it at least makes him, I don't know if more relatable or at least more context to it.
Yeah.
But here he's just like constant patheticness. Like every time he's on screen, just like, you are awful.
It both fleshes him out more and makes you feel less sympathy for him, I feel like, at the same time.
Which is great, I think. That's honestly great, because I don't want to feel sympathy for him necessarily, because he's awful.
The shot where he's eating and they like have the close up on his face, and there's like, it's so revolting, but it's so good. Like they do such an amazing job of making you think like, this guy is gross. Like his personality, his appearance, his mannerisms, his habits, like, ugh. Oh, it's such great like cinematography.
Like I am just reviled by this person existing. I know, Adam, you love Legolas in this movie. I know he's your favorite part of Return of the King.
Listen, it's just funny to me because I remember when I saw these movies as a kid, I was like, Legolas is so cool. Like he's easily the coolest character ever. And now it's like every time whoever had the Legolas fetish on the fucking crew gets their way with this scene, I'm like, that is so goofy. It is so dorky. Like I just didn't care for most of them. He's still a cool character. And I think the fact that like, if you know the lore and stuff, you know, his father is like the leader of the Mirkwood elves. It's like the third branch of elves we don't really see in this movie. But they're in The Hobbit. And just so like he's a cool character, but like they really went overboard with him like surfing down the elephant trunk. And that's part of like the CGI that's in this movie for the most part looks good. That part doesn't. So I think that's maybe part of it is like the things that they didn't age as well visually. But I mean, look, it's a small complaint. Overall, these movies are still, you know, they're great. Like,
with Legolas, it feels very much like he's supposed to be an absurd character because I feel like he was sort of absurdist in the way he was fighting in Helm's Deep as well, and so they just doubled down on
he stabs him with the arrow.
yeah. It's just like it's just a particular style of like absurdist action hero movie making that I feel like happened in the 2000s, and
definitely
Orlando Bloom as Legolas is like the archetype of that.
Yeah.
I think it works well in Two Towers. I would agree that the like Oliphant scene is not good in modern, like rewatching it does not age well. It looks very video gamey. Like it looks like I was playing Return of the King for a minute. I was like, that doesn't look quite right.
Which might be why that game works so well. But
it's true. I do think Legolas in general though, like I don't mind some of his over the top nature. Except for in that one scene, I was like, doesn't work there.
Cross the line.
We also have the ultimate woke moment where Éowyn stabs the Witch King with "I am no man" and stabs the Witch King. That would absolutely not work in modern day.
Dude, I can see the YouTube thumbnail for the rage bait video about how a woman defeated. Yeah, I know. I can see it.
It's so funny that so Aragorn's like epic speech at the end is not in the video game, but Éowyn stabbing the Night King is.
Yeah.
The sequence is so funny because like in the movie, she's like been fighting, she's like lost her armor kind of naturally or whatever, and then kills the Witch King. In the video game, it's the same character model, right? Like that's complicated. So in the Siege, she like stands up, throws down her shield, and then does the same animation to like take off her helmet and then stabs him, which looked very janky to me. It different from how she does it in the movie, right? Or am I misremembering?
A little bit. But also, I don't think you see... Do you see Merry or Pippin? Oh, sorry, I confused them. Stab him with the dagger in the game?
No. You like
that's
you shoot down the Night King, and then she's just like, "I am no woman," and fucking stabs him. It's great, but also funny.
Because in the movie, or at least in the extended cut, I assume it's in the other one, where he like stabs him with the dagger first.
Okay.
Is that... I
don't recall that from the game, no.
I actually don't recall the stab in the movie either.
Oh, interesting.
I just watched it, and I'm going to sound stupid, right? Somebody's going to be like, of course he stabs him.
It's like a second and a half, right? So it's not like a lengthy thing. But that's apparently given a lot more treatment in the book, too. Because it's like this magical dagger he gets as part of the gifts from, oh my God, Cate Blanchett. Galadriel, yeah. And that's like what takes down his curse protection or whatever. And that's when Éowyn is able to like deal a killing blow. And of course, Éowyn and Faramir's relationship is much more developed in the book too. Even in the extended cut of the movie, they're just like holding hands all of a sudden. And it's like, oh, well, if I can't have Aragorn, then I'll take Aragorn at home, I guess. It's sort of what it feels like.
Wow.
Well, I was like, in the theatrical cut, like they interact like once. Like there's no real hint at that. It's interesting how many different ways you can experience this story between both the theatrical cut, extended cut, and then the book.
Yeah, and there's probably some like abridged children's version of the book somewhere, like young readers edition. You know.
Oh, I'm sure.
And of course, the movie adaptation of the video game. Talk about a character who wasn't in the game. Galadriel does not show up whatsoever.
Oh yeah. Really, all of the elves not named Legolas have nothing going on.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And like honestly, they even kind of have a reduced role in the Helm's Deep scenes from the Two Towers, right? So
yeah, you're right. There's right at the end of the first level of Helm's Deep, you see them all shoot their arrows at the orcs.
Yeah.
But that's it. Whereas, in the movie, they show up and it's this big deal, and there's the one guy that Aragorn knows that dies, and
Yeah. It's like a whole
can't
thing.
remember his name. But...
Yeah.
Some elven name, you know, like Legolas is the only name I remember clearly when it comes to elves. So.
Elrond.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Elrond. Who, man, talking about the cast again, there's so many people that I recognize from other things, but it doesn't matter. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, that's Agent Smith. That takes me out of the movie. Right. No, it just works. Or, God, you know, Carl Urban, Eomer? That's Billy Butcher from The Boys, right?
I didn't realize that was Carl Urban.
Oh, yeah. He looks nothing like he does now.
Not even a little bit. No, I didn't realize that was Carl Urban at all.
Part of it is he looks a lot younger, but also I just think the way they do his hair and makeup looks really different than like every other role he had after that. So
I did not realize that was Carl Urban. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
To take us down a tangent here, but one person who to me looks like the same villain in both franchises, Saruman looks just like Count Dooku to me. Like if he had pulled out a lightsaber, like
he does.
If he just got a haircut, it would be the same.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, look, it's Dooku.
He cut his hair.
Is Christopher Lee.
Yeah, and now he's in space. Which, by the way, didn't Attack of the Clones come out in? I guess that was 2002, and The Two Towers was 2003. Is that right?
I think I'm not sure about Attack of the Clones, but yeah.
Two Towers was 2002, I believe.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Return of the King was 2003.
He was
okay. So he was doing both.
Yeah, he was just in these two franchises
at
the same time, which is wild. Good for him, and
playing like pretty pivotal roles in both. Well, you know, not in Return of the King, when he's just completely cut out of the theatrical cut.
Right.
He's basically the second in command bad guy who has an embarrassing death in both franchises.
You know, also someone whose motivations you don't really understand all that much. I feel like he's more understandable in The Two Towers, but...
Yeah, two very similar characters, as it turns out.
Good guys, good epic wizards. He's a space wizard and a regular wizard.
Yeah,
great actor though. I mean,
both former like sort of good guys who get corrupted, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they really have.
Also true.
This is I'm live realizing he's playing the same role. Is Count Dooku Saruman?
He's just space Saruman. That's all Dooku is. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Oh
he's just space Saruman.
Some other iconic scenes from Return of the King before did you guys enjoy the Frodo Sam bits in this a little better? Because I think I did. I think it really comes to a head with Gollum and the part where like Frodo suddenly doesn't trust Sam anymore. And man, Sean Astin's acting in those scenes is so good. And you can just feel like how hurt he is. And then he's like climbing down the mountain all upset. But then when he sees the bread that Gollum threw down, he's just like, I can't leave him with that thing. Like, it doesn't matter if he doesn't trust me. Like, I gotta go back. Oh, I really enjoyed, because like, Austin, you were kind of telling me like, is the Sam and Frodo story the least interesting part of these movies ultimately at the end? And I think through the first two movies, it often is, but I did think like when it comes to a climax, like it works really well. And I was a lot more into it.
I would agree with that when it comes to the parts where Sam interacts with Frodo. Like the Sam and Frodo dynamic really does come to a head here.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of seen the Christian allegory, not allegory, because we don't do that. But I've always seen Tolkien was a no-go on that one. But I've always seen Frodo as kind of like the everyman, the person, and the ring is obviously supposed to symbolize sin and like the corruption. And Sam is kind of like Jesus, who's like carrying you along the way, right? Like, and I think those things kind of play really well towards the end, where Sam is really picking up Frodo and carrying him literally through to the
I can't carry it for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. That's like a great scene.
That's really good.
Great. I would agree that all of those moments work really well. I just don't think I care about that journey as much as I want to, as much as like I think the movie also wants me to. It's still good. Great movies. This is not, it's just, if I had a criticism, I don't think that stuff engages me as much as the rest of like the big battles, the politics of it all, the, kingdoms, the fight against Sauron at the Black Gate, the two little hobbits carrying up the ring to the mountain is not as engaging to me.
That is so interesting. I feel like the movie has they made a very particular choice in the editing room to focus on the Sam and Frodo journey. And that's why you see all of the politics and not expanded universe, but the world building stuff is the things that got left on the editing room floor, as opposed to lots of scenes with Sam and Frodo, which is interesting because people love their relationship. You know, like another one of their memes is like, find someone who looks at you like Sam looks at Frodo.
Right. Yeah. So, Jeff, since you were the only one of us who actually read all of the books, does it make it feel like Frodo is more of the main character than these movies do, where it becomes, like we said, like it's Aragorn, right? Ultimately, like Aragorn's the main guy. Does the books kind of wrap things up in a way where it's still Frodo, or?
That's my recollection. Now, the only thing I haven't read to completion, right? I've seen the movies a bunch. We just played these games. The books I haven't touched much since high school. I only got halfway through The Hobbit before we did this recording. In my head, yes, Frodo is very much like the central character. But the other thing about the books is that since they have all the space for all the extra content, right? Like, also in my head, like the ring is destroyed maybe halfway through the Return of the King, the book. Like the scouring of the Shire being taken over and the hobbits going home and reconquering it is like several chapters that I remember struggling through, because I was like, no, their journey's done, it's over. And part of the punchline is supposed to be like, you can't really go back to the thing you left like years and years ago. Things change.
And that doesn't really come, like, you know, Merry picks up that orb and has the vision of that like happening to the Shire. It doesn't really like happen to the Shire in the movies, does it?
It's like a quick.
Not at all.
Does it not happen at all? Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Not,
they basically go back
not in the
and-
theatrical cut. They go back and everything's fine. Like,
No, I think that's how it is in extended too. We just see the vision that Merry has when he picked up that orb thing.
That might be why that's the one ending I remember from the book, because it's the only one they didn't put in the movie. So.
The only one of the 8 endings that did not make it into the movie.
There are a lot of endings, and it does feel like the movie could end a bunch. But I do remember talking to you about it, Adam, when we first finished it, and you were like, it only cuts to black like once or twice.
In my head, it cut to black 6 times, but it only fades to black twice. But there are multiple moments where it seems like it might end, and then it just kind of scene changes to another thing. But like, yeah, ultimately it's all pretty important. I mean, I think especially like the ending part with Frodo leaving with Gandalf, that whole thing is, I don't know how much of that is in the theatrical, but like it's acted very well. Like all 4 of the Hobbit characters, you're just like, Grammy, Emmy performances right here, right?
Oscar is what you're
Oscar,
looking for.
fuck, Emmy is TV shows. Look, it's all the same shit. It's all moving pictures. Who cares?
It's so funny you say that, because ironically, Return of the King is the most awarded Oscar movie of all time. It's tied with Titanic and I think one other movie, Ben-Hur maybe, but not a single nomination for acting across the entire franchise. They never got a single acting nomination.
Oh,
but
that Sam didn't win an Oscar? Wow. In my head, he did.
Not for this role. No, not a single acting. Viggo Mortensen didn't get one. Sean Astin didn't get one. None of the Hobbits. Nobody got a supporting or lead performance Oscar. Not even a nomination.
Maybe the competition was just stiff those years, or maybe they thought, since we're giving it to them for every other category, like special effects and all that stuff.
I think it was nominated. I think Return to the King particularly was nominated for 11 Oscars, and it won all 11 of them. It won all the things.
But none of them were the acting ones. Okay.
None of them were actors.
That's
interesting.
Wild. I mean, in my head, the like early 2000s was sort of a peak time for cinema, and I justify that to myself by saying like it's before the internet, social media atomized everything. So and it was late enough where we had a lot of interesting technology going in to movie making. So in my head, the 2000s is like a time when all of these like dramatic things could happen. And well, like you said, Adam, there'd be a lot of competition, but it could also just be because those were my formative years. So I don't know.
It's definitely surprising to hear.
Austin, tell me if the Odyssey is emblematic of the 2020s movie.
Oh, I mean, Odyssey's gonna get like a ton of Oscar nominations, so we already know that it'll rival all of the. It'll rival Return of the King, I'm sure. It's Christopher Nolan doing a sword and sandals film. The Oscars eats that shit up.
Since I've made enough references,
Sword and sandals.
Yeah, that's what they call it, right?
Okay.
Sword and sandals film.
So before we get out of here, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the games in this universe that came out after this. Because with the success of these games, it was suddenly like, oh, the Lord of the Rings sells? Like, it's time. It is time to pump them out. So actually, EA decides, off the success of Final Fantasy X, that they want a turn-based RPG set in the Lord of the Rings universe. And they produced Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. Drasher, do you remember playing this at all?
Not even a little.
I actually remember a couple of our friends were playing it on their PS2. Do you remember Ginny Sharp, super obsessed with Lord of the Rings?
Yes, of course.
So I remember like one of the times we were all hanging out, she was playing it on there, and I was like, what is this? This is Final Fantasy X with Lord of the Rings characters. So I downloaded this and played it for about 5 or 6 hours. Pretty fun because the combat is a lot like Final Fantasy X. And so if you're into that kind of JRPG thing, but the problem is that like every other thing that made Final Fantasy X so good, the world building and the characters and I was about to say the dialogue, maybe that's not the way to put it, but the fact that it's just like really intensely voice acted, and there's the Blitzball mini game, and there's the sphere grid customization system, none of that shit really comes through in this Lord of the Rings version. You just have like discount versions of all of the movie characters. There's like an elf girl and there's a dwarf and there's a ranger, but none of them are as interesting as the counterparts they're modeled after. And so it kind of just doesn't have the same, like, but you know, decent enough game. There was a RTS that came out called The War of the Ring in 2003 that got very bad reviews. A couple years later, Battle for Middle-earth came out, actually got pretty good reviews. I think all in the 80s. So like that is one I need to go back and play, because like a real-time strategy Middle-earth game that got decent reviews, I wasn't actually aware this existed, fellas.
Yeah, neither did I. I think I might have played a Game Boy Advanced version of one of these that had like a Game Boy port that played nothing like the actual game. You know how they had those, a bunch of those.
Yeah. They had quite a few of those.
I can't remember which one it was. It might have even been Third Age, but like it was a Fire Emblem type clone or something, but it wasn't a very good one.
This was the era of WoW clones. So, of course, we got a Lord of the Rings Online, which surprisingly is still active and getting updates today, 2026.
Am absolutely shocked. I just read that here in our show notes that it is still online and getting content. I genuinely cannot believe that.
They actually sold lifetime subscriptions for $300, which I think a lot of people were like, we've seen so many MMOs fail since WoW, no one's going to do this. So people got their fucking money's worth on that one.
Yeah. Holy shit. Okay.
So you guys remember Star Wars Battlefront? So that was a studio called Pandemic. They put out a game called Lord of the Rings Conquest, which was basically Battlefront, but Lord of the Rings. And, you know, you play, there's like a magic class and like a scout and a dwarven warrior or whatever.
Yeah.
It was not very good.
That sounds like it should be awesome.
Yeah, right. Real quick aside, Adam, did you really ask me if I remembered Star Wars Battlefront? Like, I'm
sorry. Of course.
Which we haven't.
Jeff Star Wars podcast.
Yeah.
Future. Is this going to make the list? The Battlefront games? Is that what's next?
This can't not make the list.
The second one had like a whole story campaign, right?
Yes.
I love Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
All right, find the document, put it on the list, boys. We'll get to this.
It's going on.
So that one didn't come together very well. I think it was just something that they basically were like sort of forced to rush out and didn't really come together the same way Battlefront did. There was another one in 2011 called War in the North, which I played about 2 or 3 hours of. This was like a co-op game. It almost kind of reminds me of like the Dark Alliance games or something, like a different perspective, but that same sort of hack and slash, get levels and loot sort of thing. It was kind of fun. There would be these really cool, like when you would finish off an orc, you would go into like slow-mo and you would just like see these bloody like, and it was neat, but good God, I could not. It was like some of the worst damage feedback I've ever played in a video game, to where I'm like, I'm at full health, right? And I look down and I'm like, I've been taking damage this whole time. Right? No, that was a decent enough one. But I gotta say, I think the single most successful Lord of the Rings game to come out since these that we were talking about have to be Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, right? Just no
Of
dispute.
course.
100%.
Yeah, of course.
I'm shocked I forgot about them. It is, I think, the only other Lord of the Rings game I've ever played. And so that means I had played that one and heard of that one, and I'd heard of Lord of the Rings Online. And otherwise, I didn't think anyone had ever successfully adapted a video game. I was unaware.
Yeah.
Well, as you can see from this list, there's not many successful attempts.
I mean, there's like 6 on here. Again, I thought it was just strategy game mods were the only Lord of the Rings games available. So.
Of course, then we have the more meme than game Gollum that came out a couple years ago, where it was just got some of the worst reviews ever. But even I was talking about this with someone last night, actually, that I was hanging out with. It isn't even just the poor execution. It's the fundamental idea of what this game was. Is like you are Gollum and you're like enslaved by the orcs in between the movies, and you're like doing chores for them while trying to escape. And it's just like, why? Why?
It's a really weird concept of a game, and it did not work.
Yeah. Who asked for that? Who greenlit that? It's so strange.
Listen, sometimes these what do you call them, auteur type people, like they just need to be shut down. They're just like, no, you actually did need to go to a board for this one.
This one isn't it, guys. This is not the one.
Look, y'all, it's okay to fail. It's sometimes surprising when it's this grand of a failure, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay to fail. It's less okay to fail when you take so many people's money to fail. But
buyer beware.
Yeah, I guess you know what? Ultimately, whose fault is that, right?
I'm about to say, if you bought the Gollum game thinking it would be good after those trailers,
if you either invested in or purchased the Gollum game, this is very much a your fault situation. Yeah. And then, unsurprisingly, I counted 20 mobile games and 7 browser games since the year 2001. So you can imagine none of those were worth a shit. But
that's insane.
So some closing discussion questions here. I'm curious, especially for those of us who have played a few of these games, what like genre do we think handles this game best? Because I could see an argument for RTS, but it kind of just seems like pure action's the way to go. Because at the end of the day, like, do people want to command the armies of Middle-earth, or do they want to fuck up an orc in Middle-earth? Like, you know what I mean?
This is such a good question. So I'm going to take it as you're asking what genre of game is best for the Lord of the Rings adaptations. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
This is really hard, Adam, because the only successful games have been about fucking up the orcs. But as a strategy game player, they're everywhere. Everyone wants a fucking Lord of the Rings strategy game, and they're all begging
That's true.
for it. So,
that's true because of the mods, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Again,
you just need a team to successfully do it. And then, I think the most successful of these games are definitely the Shadow of games, like the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. I think we're both really successful financially and critically. I don't know about Shadow of War financially, but I know Mordor sold pretty well. And
they
like
both did
the Nemesis system is constantly praised as like, this should be a mechanic that other games utilize that, none of them do. But I think that's where the most fun has been had in my experience with Lord of the Rings games. I could see a strategy game working well if the right team does it. But up to this point, action has been the way to go, I think, with this franchise.
Now, since this is such a icon in the literary space, right? This is an iconic Western story. Is it time to bring back a text-based RPG adaptation? Is the world ready for that?
You know I'm all about the text games. You know I can...
About to say, Adam with his Star Wars mud over there is he's like... He's itching for it.
Foreshadowing for an eventual mod episode.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. That was going to be a tough sell for me. You and Jeff have fun with that one.
That's going to be one kind of like the longest journey where I'm like, Austin, just watch me stream it. Just be there while I play it. That's all I need you to do. So another question. Let's say Amazon Game Studios, because they own all the shit now, for Lord of the Rings, let's say they announce a new game tomorrow. What would you love to see? Do you want to see them build off of anything we've talked about today? Or do you want to see if like we can get something we haven't seen yet? Like, for instance, maybe a Dishonored style immersive sim set in the Lord of the Rings universe. Who knows? Like, what are we thinking?
I mean, Jeff wants a strategy game.
Yeah, Austin saw my face.
He's fiending for it over there.
Like, what era? If Amazon was going to salvage their reputation with Lord of the Rings, they should definitely launch a strategy game in the era they tried to launch a series in. Yeah.
I'm about to say, did you watch Rings of Power?
I watched the first season and it was fine.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was all right. I never bothered to watch the second season though.
I didn't either.
Was it woke?
Was it woke? It was just a little weird. Adam, have you seen House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones spin-off?
I saw the first season. I haven't caught up though.
Yeah, it's no more woke than that. So
okay,
no.
Basically, there's just women doing things, and some people don't like that.
I was about to say that there's a main character who's a woman, so that makes it woke.
Mm-hmm.
Like we know.
And then I guess like
works.
fantasy characters that are traditionally not black, there's just like a black one.
Yeah.
And so there's that too.
Yeah.
Also, yeah.
You
Super
can get,
woke, in other words.
Yeah, you can get picky and say that House of the Dragon did that better, whereas like Amazon's comes off as like, we did it to do that. And so it feels awkward. There's some legitimacy there, but we live in an era where like good faith engagement doesn't exist. So we're going to put nuance
well said
over here and just drop it and be like, it's not woke, y'all shut up.
They have to get ahead of the inevitable rage debate. So they're like, we may as well just,
I know.
meet it head on.
I know. Sorry. Now I'm remembering that The Acolyte got canceled for the same thing.
Oh, God. So to answer this question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Austin.
No, I was also going to come back to the question.
Okay. Do we have enough of a woke detour there? Yeah.
I'll let you answer the question first, though. You got it.
Well, so I was going to say, since I actually rather enjoyed the Third Age for the 4 hours I played it before I got bored of it, and I thought that like a couple of turn-based RPGs recently, like Clair Obscur and Octopath Traveler, have been doing more interesting things with turn-based RPGs. It would be cool to see them have a like, instead of an FF10 clone, a Clair Obscur clone of Lord of the Rings, where you really embrace like a deeper combat and progressive system and a big expansive world that you can explore world map style. Because there's no like overarching map in the Third Age. You're just like going from like screen to screen. So I think that would be cool. I do love my turn-based RPGs, especially with the modern twist. So I would love to see them make an attempt like that.
I would also be happy with something from like the Elder Scrolls type aesthetic, right? Just an RPG.
Yeah.
Like the Lord of the Rings is so, I mean, it just is where all RPGs are based, right? Because most RPGs are like fantasy. It's just so ripe for that. So yeah, if you could give me the Lord of the Rings Skyrim, I would take it.
Yeah, Skyrim is just Lord of the Rings plus furry. Right? That's what.
Right.
Yeah.
It's. I guess they couldn't license Lord of the Rings, so they made their own universe. I don't know.
I mean, you could even go in the like Baldur's Gate CRPG direction.
Ooh,
have
okay.
the, turn-based in that way. Like that would be an option. I think that would work really well for Lord of the Rings, especially with the elaborate world, the like battlefield setups that you could create. High grounds and all these different environments that you could utilize from a CRPG perspective. I think could be really cool.
True. I totally forgot. I just mentioned Immersive Sim. I forgot the Kingdom Come Deliverance guys have announced they're working on a Lord of the Rings game.
Oh my God.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So that could be interesting. And I think since it's a property that is like so big, they're probably going to spend a lot of time reworking the combat to be a little more accessible. Because like, much as I enjoy playing that game, it's wonky sometimes.
I hate playing that game.
But Austin, you hate any combat that doesn't involve like just mashing X over and over. So
not entirely incorrect, but
I mean that was a huge aspect of these games, and it worked really well. So
there was a point in the notes where he was like, I keep using this one combo over and over. And then after that, it was like, I hate this game. And I was like, do you think these two things are related at all? But
well, if the game played better, then I might have been more compelled to use the other combos.
It's not on me to change
did not feel
tactics. Good. It's on the enemies to be easier to kill. Like I don't understand.
Listen, Two Towers did not feel good to play. Okay, don't try to twist this on me.
I can't possibly get through one of these episodes without shitting on the gaming expert enthusiast expertise and enthusiasm. So.
He never said he was good at it. Expert and enthusiast, man.
Let's say enthusiast. I like to emphasize the enthusiast part.
If anything, I said he was good at it, so that's my fault. Yeah. So, final thoughts here, guys. Are these games that you would recommend people play in the year 2026 of our Lord, or have they maybe just aged a little too much?
They have not aged a little too much. I mean, maybe it's just because I don't play a ton of new titles these days, but these were surprisingly fun and approachable.
Yeah.
If you've never seen this level of graphics before, maybe it'll bother you. But I think even for the era, like graphically, they looked really clean. Like there's nothing that is jarring and looks bad. And even the epic scenes are like technologically rendered so well that like the wall defenses are so exciting. There's whole armies moving in the background. So yes, is The Lord of the Rings worth enjoying today? Absolutely. It's basically timeless. Go read the book, go play these movie adaptations, and go watch the movies.
I definitely think Lord of the Rings as a whole holds up incredibly well. Like the movies were incredible for the time and are still very impressive now. I was immediately immersed in them. The games, I think, like Two Towers, I could probably do without. Of course, playing Return of the King first probably gave me a much more negative impression of Two Towers.
Right.
But I do think Return of the King holds up pretty well. I'm not sure, like, if you're the type of person who loves to play modern releases and keeps up with everything, I'm not sure this is worth your time to, like, take away from that and go play this. But if you have nostalgia for it or a big Lord of the Rings fan, it was a lot of fun for me to revisit.
Yeah, I think this would make great streamer content. Like, get a buddy on stream with you. Go play the co-op campaign. I'm kind of with you, Austin. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend someone go through Two Towers, although like if you're gonna play both, definitely start there. But ultimately, I found Return of the King just a fun co-op experience to play with you for a few hours. Had it gone on more than 6 or 7 hours, who knows? But I felt like it was like a good length of time, and we were having fun with it while we played it.
Now I'm just envisioning the right kind of streamer content to do. Like, could you have someone streaming these, playing the game, and then someone else is like reading the book aloud to them alongside? And you can't play the movie
while the movie plays in the background. Well, you have like the sounds in the background.
Oh yeah, that's how you go viral on TikTok, right? You have to have like 4 stimuli all blasting at the same time, right? So yeah.
You're like freaking out. Yeah. No, I mean, this was a fun time to play with you, Adam. I think if I had played this by myself, my opinion might be a little different, but playing it, like having the fun co-op, figuring out how to get Parsec to work and like just enjoying that experience was fun.
A game in itself.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do appreciate having a quality emulator on my computer now. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, and we've just been looking at some like dumb shit we might play now that we realize how easy it is to emulate some of these. There is you know what? Yeah, maybe we won't spoil Ergi's. God, what was it? What was it? Something of the Ring. I already forgot.
Was it Power of the Ring or no? Not Power.
So anyway, it's actually pronounced like Ehrgeist or something because it's like German, but it's like a Japanese game, so I didn't even realize that's what it was trying to do. So we've just been calling it Ergies, and it's this goofy ass fighter with like random Final Fantasy characters from like 2001. Oh, it's gonna make for a good episode one day, but a little foreshadowing.
One thing I want to say, going into this, I was thinking about if this was going to be our least Japanese episode of the podcast between y'all's JRPGs and the fact that Star Wars has so much Japanese influence. So.
Right? Yeah. Could be.
But
although we still found a way to talk about both of those things. So.
But we still brought Star Wars and Japan in. Don't worry.
And so ends our discussion on Electronic Arts' pair of movie tie-in hack and slashers, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Return of the King.
You can find this episode, as well as all of our other episodes, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting platform.
And as always, you can find everything we do on our website, gamesgoneby.com.
Signing off for Games Gone By, I'm Adam.
I'm Austin.
And my ox.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.